हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज की वीडियो में मैं इसका नेक्स्ट पार्ट लेके आ चुका हूँ। तो बिना किसी देरी के चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं।
Chapter 207, Ice Empress, Yuhao, you wouldn't want to lose a vicious beast, right? Hearing the Ice Empress's sharp critique, the corners of Huo Yuhao's mouth slowly curled into an interested arc. Oh, low-level trash spirit beast. Huo Yuhao sneered in his heart. He was now quite looking forward to what kind of wonderful expression would appear on this arrogant little scorpion's face once she saw exactly who the trash inside was. BB Dong. Next, your mission is to use your divine sense to carry the Ice Empress's soul aura and infiltrate the interior of that god-sealing platform together. Go and thoroughly investigate the true identity of this low-level spirit beast. Yes, leader. BB Dong's lazy, mature female voice rang out. For a former first-class divinity, a mere rank 9 spirit tool made by a mortal could be easily penetrated. Hearing Huo Yuhao's command, the Ice Empress immediately pouted, her face full of reluctance. TCH. Making this Empress personally contact this small fry spirit beast is truly a waste of my precious time. Despite her words, under Huo Yuhao's command, the Ice Empress still obediently handed over a wisp of her origin aura, connecting it to BB Dong's divine sense. Subsequently, the mental force of the two transformed into a streak of light, silently vanishing into the embryo on the display stand. At this time, inside the Shrek box, Elderzon, who had been sitting on the sofa, narrowed his eyes slightly, staring intently at the spirit beast embryo. In his mind, he suddenly realized a serious problem. The Star Luo Empire's recruitment of Huo Yuhao, as well as their substantial tilt of resources, had already been delivered in earnest. What about their Shrek Academy in contrast? Although they kept shouting about cultivating Huo Yuhao as the future master of the Sea God Pavilion up until now, most of what they had given were still unfulfilled empty promises. If at this critical juncture they didn't bring out something real to stabilize Huo Yuhao's heart, how could they demonstrate Shrek Academy's true investment? Thinking of this, Elderzon made up his mind. He turned his head and looked at Huo Yuhao. Yuhao. The Academy once promised you that in the future, we would definitely go all out to obtain a 100,000-year spirit ring for you. Now, this 100,000-year spirit beast embryo is the perfect opportunity delivered right to our door. Elderzon waved his hand and said with overbearing confidence. Use your mental force to carefully examine whether the spirit beast inside is a suitable match for your attributes. If it is suitable, even if this old man has to empty out all the funds I brought on this trip. I will definitely help you secure it. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire Shrek box instantly fell into a deathly silence. Dai Yuang, Shu Sanchi, Hiketu, and the other preparatory and official team members all looked at each other. Hearing Elderzon's undisguised favoritism and promise, their hearts were filled with a complex mix of emotions. They were all core disciples of Shrek Academy, and they were all risking their lives to fight in matches for the Academy. But this difference in treatment was just too large. Everyone felt that at this moment, Huo Yuhao was like a VIP rank 15 player. While they, in front of Huo Yuhao, were simply like free-to-play players. They could only watch with wide eyes as Huo Yuhao enjoyed super exclusive service. However, just when everyone thought Huo Yuhao would gladly accept, to everyone's surprise, Huo Yuhao slowly opened his eyes, his expression as calm as water. I appreciate the Academy's kindness. But I refuse. Boom. As soon as these 3 words came out, the expressions of everyone present changed drastically. Ma Xiaotao was so shocked she jumped straight up from the sofa, exclaiming. Huo Yuhao, have you gone mad, kid? Do you even know what you're saying? That's a 100,000-year spirit ring and a 100,000-year spirit bone. And Ma Xiaotao was so anxious she stomped her feet, pointing at the Snow Empress embryo. By absorbing it, there's even a high chance of gaining the opportunity for twin spirits. This is a divine rank opportunity that every spirit master on the continent dreams of. Huo Yuhao gave a light chuckle. Twin spirits. The corners of Huo Yuhao's mouth curled into a mocking arc. I'm sorry, but I already possess twin spirits, I don't need such an opportunity. Furthermore, there is definitely something wrong with this spirit beast embryo. Use your brains and think about it. If this thing is truly as heaven-defying as they boast, allowing someone to awaken a second spirit, why wouldn't the Star Luo Imperial family keep it for internal consumption? Huo Yuhao sneered and asked in return. Does Princess Shujuju not want to awaken twin spirits and become the continent's #1 genius? The fact that they insist on putting it up for auction with such fanfare clearly means there's a fatal hidden danger within this embryo that even the Star Luo Imperial family cannot solve. This is a hot potato. Hearing Huo Yuhao's extremely calm and logically airtight analysis, everyone in the box fell silent. It was true. There was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. The Star Luo Imperial family wasn't running a charity. Of course. That seamless logical analysis just now was merely an excuse Huo Yuhao used to brush everyone off. What he truly cared about in his heart wasn't some hidden danger. Rather, this Snow Empress embryo would sooner or later become his possession. To be precise, the Snow Empress herself would soon become his property. As for that embryo, Huo Yuhao gave a cold laugh in his heart. He would be merciful and kindly leave it for the Sun Moon Empire. After all, if not for this god-sealing platform carrying the aura of a 100,000-year spirit beast as bait, how could that future, 0 yuan purchase, incident at Ming Hall be successfully triggered? When 2 tigers fight, one is bound to get hurt. He, Huo Yuhao, only needed to hide in the shadows and quietly enjoy this dog-eat-dog show, while reaping the benefits of a bystander. After hearing Huo Yuhao's explanation, although everyone felt it was reasonable, they still felt a bit of regret in their hearts. And in the corner of the box, watching Huo Yuhao give up on the bidding, a flash of extreme contempt crossed Dai Yuang's eyes as he secretly mocked. TCH. He speaks so grandly, but in truth, he's just a coward who's afraid of trouble. It's simply the behavior of a coward. Does he not even understand the simplest principle of seeking wealth amidst danger? If it were me, if I could obtain this supreme treasure, I would definitely be able to violently absorb this spirit beast embryo and forcibly awaken a second spirit. Thinking of this, Dai Yuang stared fixedly at the god-sealing platform on the screen, his gaze carrying a hint of greed. What a pity. This was something the Star Luo Imperial family brought out for auction. It really isn't easy to make a move on. Meanwhile, inside the god-sealing platform, swoosh, accompanied by a faint spatial fluctuation, an emerald green petite figure, under the cover of BB Dong's divine sense, successfully descended into this pure white space. HMPH. The Ice Empress crossed her arms, raising her chin arrogantly and snorting coldly. This Empress wants to see exactly which idiot from the far north would actually be captured by ants like humans at such a critical moment of transformation. They've truly disgraced the reputation of our far north spirit beasts. While the Ice Empress was frantically complaining in her heart, she looked up toward the center of the god-ceiling platform space. However, when she saw the scene ahead clearly, the Ice Empress's arrogant little face instantly froze. In the center of this narrow space, an incredibly beautiful figure was being tightly bound by layers of pale gold seal chains, yet she was still doing her best, constantly using her frigid spirit power to strike the outer walls of the god-ceiling platform. She had pure white long hair that fell like a waterfall. She wore an extremely magnificent ice blue gown. On those jade-like feet, she wore a pair of crystal high heels. Cold, noble, and inviolable. It was precisely the true dominator of the far north, the Ice Empress with 690,000 years of cultivation, the Snow Empress. The moment the Ice Empress sized up the other party, sensing the sudden appearance of a powerful aura within this enclosed space, the Snow Empress stopped her striking. An extremely vigilant and cold expression instantly surfaced on her face. Who is it? The Snow Empress turned her head sharply, bone-chilling coldness flashing in those deep blue eyes. A lackey of the humans. But the next second, when the Snow Empress and the Ice Empress locked eyes, shocked expressions, as if they had seen a ghost, surfaced on the faces of both far north kings simultaneously. Shui, Binger. The Ice Empress's orange-yellow eyes went wide, her small mouth opening so wide an egg could fit inside. How is it possible? How can it be you? At this moment, the Ice Empress felt that the wild words she had just released to Douluo Yuhao in the sea of consciousness were like a boomerang, fiercely slapping her own face. The face slap came too fast, like a tornado. Oh no. The Ice Empress instantly reacted from her shock, a chill rushing straight to her head. That brat Yuhao had just publicly announced his refusal to bid outside. If this god-ceiling platform was bought by someone else, wouldn't Shui really end up as someone else's spirit ring? The Ice Empress was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, not even having time to catch up with the Snow Empress. She hurriedly shouted frantically to Douluo Yuhao outside through their mental connection. Yuhao, can you hear me? The embryo, inside is the leader of the three kings of the far north, the Snow Empress. She's my best sister. The Ice Empress's voice carried unprecedented urgency and pleading. Yuhao, can you, buy this spirit beast embryo? You wouldn't want to lose a top-tier vicious beast with nearly 700,000 years of cultivation, right? Chapter 208, Snow Empress, what do you mean I'm delicious? Inside the god-ceiling platform, a pure white space. Buzz. A faint ripple spread through the air. A projection of mental force split off by Douluo Yuhao slowly materialized beside the Ice Empress. With his hands in his pockets, he sized up the exquisite woman in front of him with great interest. At the same time, Douluo Yuhao clearly felt the ghetto statue deep within his sea of consciousness vibrating violently. It was an extremely thirsty, predatory hunger. You must be the Snow Empress, right? As expected. You look very delicious. Hearing those words, the Snow Empress, bound by chains, shuddered violently. A flash of bewilderment crossed her deep blue eyes as she stared fixedly at the strange youth who had suddenly appeared. Delicious. No, I must be having auditory hallucinations from being tortured by this god-ceiling platform. What he just said definitely should have been, I am very beautiful. Yes, it must be that. Douluo Yuhao turned his head and glanced at the Ice Empress beside him with a half-smile. Little scorpion. Douluo Yuhao's tone was full of playfulness. I was outside just now, and I seemed to hear someone confidently say that what's inside this embryo is just a low-level spirit beast with a bad brain. Quote. The Ice Empress's fair and delicate face instantly turned bright red, as if it were about to drip blood. You. The Ice Empress was so ashamed and indignant she wanted to find a hole in the ground to crawl into. However, looking at her good friend still suffering from the seal's torment, she couldn't care about Facer being Tsunere. Yuhao. The Ice Empress stomped her feet in anxiety, tightly clutching Douluo Yuhao's sleeve, her voice carrying obvious urgency and pleading. Now is really not the time for jokes. Ever since we joined you, we of the Nine-Faced Beast have been loyal and devoted to you. Stop making fun of me, I beg you, save Shui. Seeing the habitually arrogant Ice Empress actually humbling herself to plead before a human youth for her sake, the Snow Empress felt her mind go blank. Human, who exactly are you? The Snow Empress's voice was cold, carrying an inviolable majesty as she questioned sharply. Also, Binger. Why are you with this human? Why are you even being so subservient to him? Faced with the Snow Empress's questioning, Douluo Yuhao did not answer. He simply took half a step back, yielding the floor. Ice Empress, explain it to her yourself. The Ice Empress felt as if she had been granted a grand pardon. She turned her head sharply, looked at the Snow Empress, and nodded vigorously. Then, she impatiently shouted words that were truly shocking. Shui. I am, already his spirit ring. Boom. These words were like a heavy hammer, smashing ruthlessly into the Snow Empress's heart. The Snow Empress's pupils shook violently, and an unspeakable sorrow instantly surged within her. Not only had she fallen into trouble, but had even Binger met with misfortune and been forcibly captured by a human. What? You actually became a human spirit ring? The Snow Empress struggled violently, causing the golden chains to let out a piercing clatter as she cried out shrilly. Binger, what did he do to you? Did he force you? No, it's not like that. Fearing the Snow Empress would misunderstand, the Ice Empress frantically waved her hands and added an explanation. Shui, listen to me. I sacrificed myself to him voluntarily. My 400,000-year limit was approaching, and I couldn't survive the next heavenly tribulation. So, rather than waiting for death, I wanted to gamble for that sliver of life. Therefore, I took the initiative to join his God Creation Project. Shui, you should join us too. Let's become gods together. Standing to the side, Douluo Yuhao couldn't help but let out a cold laugh in his heart. In a sense, the Ice Empress had indeed sacrificed herself, extremely wisely and voluntarily, at the time. After all, between the two options of becoming one of the Nine-Faced Beasts and retaining intelligence, and becoming food for the ghetto statue and being completely annihilated, the Ice Empress had very, voluntarily, and quickly made the correct choice. Within the chains. Listening to the Ice Empress's speech, the Snow Empress's expression changed drastically. She stared blankly at the Ice Empress. If it weren't for the fact that the Ice Empress's origin aura was too familiar for any human to fake, She would have even suspected that this was an illusion deliberately created by the humans who captured her to fool her. Has the world gone mad, or have I? A strong sense of absurdity rose in the Snow Empress's heart. Because everything that had happened to her recently, when added together, was simply too outrageous and too ridiculous. First, she had carefully chosen to undergo transformation and recultivation in the core area of the far north. Everything was supposed to go smoothly. But then, a bizarre spatial rift suddenly appeared in the sky without warning. A titled Douluo holding a 9th-tier spirit tool, the god sealing platform, actually, airdropped through the rift and smashed right into her face by sheer coincidence. And then, she was captured alive by the other party just like that. Immediately following that, she, the supreme dominator of the far north, was actually treated as a piece of cargo and became the grand finale item at a human auction. And now, the most outrageous thing was happening. You're telling me that my best friend, the Ice Empress, has somehow appeared inside this sealed spirit tool. And she's even trying to recruit me with a face full of fanaticism, asking me to sacrifice myself to a human and join some god creation project. This series of absurd blows left the Snow Empress feeling an unprecedented exhaustion. The endless questions and thousands of words in her heart. In the end, they only condensed into a single phrase. Binger. Is it really worth it? Hearing this question, the Ice Empress nodded like a chick pecking grain. She was terrified that the Snow Empress would refuse to join and ultimately be forcibly fed to that terrifying ghetto statue by Huo Yuhao. It's worth it, of course it's worth it. The Ice Empress shouted urgently. Shui, believe me. Yuhao is the true child of fortune of this era. He is a man destined to become a god. Following him is our only way out. Become a god, huh? The Snow Empress turned her head slightly, a flash of complex light appearing in her deep blue eyes. She just wanted to take a closer look at the youth standing beside the Ice Empress who had remained silent all this time. However, buzz. A vast, sea-like pressure suddenly descended upon this pure white space. In the air, a streak of purple-black light rapidly condensed. Then, it transformed into an exquisitely beautiful figure. Bibi Dong levitated in midair. The corners of her mouth curled into a light, interested smile. Hee. I feel like I've seen a scene like this. Once before, 10,000 years ago in the Stardew Great Forest. Boom. Seeing this suddenly appearing purple figure and feeling the terrifying aura that stood above all living beings. The Snow Empress's pupils contracted violently, and her voice even changed pitch due to extreme shock. What? This aura. You are. Although the Snow Empress had always lived in the far north, she had naturally felt the god war from 10,000 years ago. You are the Rakshasa god from 10,000 years ago, Bibi Dong. Bibi Dong covered her mouth and chuckled, her manner languid and arrogant. That's right, little snow girl, you do have some insight. However, Bibi Dong's tone shifted, carrying a sense of fanaticism. Now, I am no longer the Rakshasa god. My current identity is one of the 9-faced beasts under Lord Yuhao. What? Hearing these words, the Snow Empress felt her worldview being completely shattered at this moment. Even a god from 10,000 years ago had willingly become this youth's subordinate. Feeling Bibi Dong's divine pressure, the Snow Empress who had always stood at the peak of the continent in her long life, for the first time, felt her own insignificance and helplessness so profoundly. Is this the power of a god? The Snow Empress murmured to herself, her originally arrogant head unconsciously lowering a bit. At this moment, when the Snow Empress's psychological defenses had been completely crushed, Huo Yuhao finally moved. He slowly took a step forward, his deep, heterochromatic eyes staring directly into the Snow Empress's eyes. His low voice echoed within the space. Snow Empress. Join us. Huo Yuhao slowly extended his right hand. No matter what happens, no matter who the enemy is. As long as you advance and retreat with me. Before us, there shall be no rivals. Chapter 209, Snow Empress, instead of looking for a path to godhood, why not create a god? As Huo Yuhao's voice fell. Buzz. He deactivated the disguise he had used to deceive others. In an instant, 5 spirit rings rose from beneath Huo Yuhao's feet. Red, 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 red. 5 blood-red 100,000-year spirit rings shone together, casting a tragic light over the pure white enclosed space. At this moment, Snow Empress's deep blue pupils shrank to the size of needle tips. The scene before her had completely exceeded her understanding. 500,000-year spirit rings. How is this possible? In Snow Empress's common knowledge, the bodies of human spirit masters have limits. Forget geniuses, even the limit Douluos who stood at the peak of the continent 10,000 years ago could never have started with 100,000-year spirit rings from the very first one. Even an Ice Empress like her, with 690,000 years of cultivation, would never be able to withstand the energy of a 100,000-year ring as her first if she chose to transform and recultivate. Could it be? Could it be that 5 vicious beasts with over 100,000 years of cultivation had willingly sacrificed themselves to him? Or perhaps, these 5 piercing red rings were all God-bestowed spirit rings personally granted by a divinity. Regardless of which possibility it was, it proved one thing. Snow Empress's heart was violently shaken. This human was definitely no ordinary man. Even Bibi Dong, the Rakshasa god from 10,000 years ago, was willing to be his subordinate, and even the proud Binger had become his helper. Perhaps, my initial thought was truly wrong. Snow Empress sighed secretly in her heart. Instead of risking her life to find a path to godhood, why not create a god? Snow Empress closed her eyes and carefully felt her currently terrible physical state. My transformation was forcibly interrupted by that damn title Douluo, and the origin spirit power in my body is extremely unstable right now. Even if I force my way out of the god sealing platform, I won't escape death in the end. Since that's the case, I might as well take a gamble. Thinking of this, Snow Empress reopened her eyes, a look of resolve and determination appearing on her beautiful, cold face. Human. Snow Empress looked directly at Huo Yuhao, her tone still retaining a hint of the Tsunari nature belonging to the dominator of the far north. For Binger's sake, this Empress will tentatively believe you once today. But, Snow Empress's tone shifted, becoming extremely serious. You'd better think this through. Because of the incomplete transformation and the suppression of the god sealing platform, the massive origin spirit power in my body is at a critical point where it could lose control and explode at any moment. My origin power, which is comparable to that of a limit Douluo, is not something you can just take whenever you want. Beside them, Ice Empress breathed a complete sigh of relief, patting her chest with her small hand. Massive energy. Exploding at any moment. A very strange smile couldn't help but appear on Ice Empress's small face. She wasn't worried at all about Huo Yuhao being blown apart. As someone who had personally experienced almost being swallowed in one gulp like a small snack by the ghetto statue, she knew all too well how terrifying the devouring power of that ten-eyed monster in Huo Yuhao's sea of consciousness was. It was simply a bottomless pit. Never mind energy at the limit Douluo level, even if the energy were doubled, that statue could swallow it all clean. Hearing Snow Empress finally relent and agree, Huo Yuhao showed a satisfied expression. Very good. Also, I'm not called human. Huo Yuhao put his hands in his pockets, his tone carrying a sense of authority. Snow Empress, from now on, call me by my name, Huo Yuhao. Or, just call me leader. Huo Yuhao. Hearing Huo Yuhao introduce himself, Snow Empress was suddenly dazed. A flash of inspiration crossed her mind. She vaguely remembered that during her long years of undergoing tribulation, she seemed to have dimly sensed a hint of heaven's will. Huo Yuhao. Isn't this exactly the name of the child of fortune destined for this era? So, Binger was telling the truth. He really is the person from the prophecy. However, now is clearly not the time to dwell on these details. Yuhao. Snow Empress quickly adapted to her new role and said solemnly. Once you're outside and buy this god-sealing platform with money, you and Binger must immediately join forces. Snow Empress was about to teach the two of them the secret technique to suppress and stabilize the embryo's violent spirit power. There's no need for that. Huo Yuhao raised his hand to interrupt her, his tone carrying a hint of mockery as if watching a play. I don't plan on buying this god-sealing platform. What? As soon as he said this, both Snow Empress and Ice Empress showed expressions of extreme shock. Ice Empress was so anxious that she stomped her foot, ran to Huo Yuhao, and questioned him loudly. Yuhao, are you crazy? What nonsense are you talking about? If you don't buy this embryo, how are we supposed to save Shui later? Snow Empress's deep blue eyes also turned cold. Are you making fun of this Empress? Huo Yuhao looked at the anxious pair and slowly explained. That's not it. Snow Empress, I want you, of course. A cold smile curled at the corners of Huo Yuhao's mouth. But this embryo. I'm going to leave it inside this god-sealing platform exactly as it is. Huo Yuhao stared at Snow Empress. Snow Empress, do not resist. Then, Huo Yuhao extended his right hand, and a faint light lit up at his fingertips. Buzz. A piece of information was instantly struck into Snow Empress's mind. Snow Empress was dazed for a moment. Then, she quickly read and understood the content Huo Yuhao had sent her. Summoning contract, summoning technique. Snow Empress murmured in surprise. Huo Yuhao nodded and slowly explained. Correct, this is the same method Ice Empress used when she sacrificed herself to me. As long as you open your sea of consciousness and sign a contract with me, I can use the law of space from the summoning technique to ignore the physical isolation of this 9th tier god-sealing platform and directly summon and extract your soul and core origin from within this god-sealing platform and into my body. Hearing this, Ice Empress suddenly understood. Her eyes widened as she looked at Huo Yuhao, and she couldn't help but take a sharp breath. Yuhao, you mean? You're going to pull off a golden cicada shedding its shell trick? Extract Shui and leave behind an empty embryo filled with energy that could explode at any moment, to screw over the sucker who pays a fortune for it. This is too wicked. Huo Yuhao shrugged noncommittally. Snow Empress completely regained her senses. She took a deep breath and said in a low voice. Yuhao. I admit, I did underestimate you before. Such a bizarre secret technique and a brilliant plan filled with shocking wisdom were indeed not the methods of an ordinary person. Then, without any hesitation, Snow Empress followed the method Huo Yuhao had taught her and opened the defenses of her sea of consciousness. Buzz. Golden contract runes lit up in the pure white space and were instantly branded deep into Snow Empress's soul. The contract was established. Snow Empress looked at Huo Yuhao, a rare blush creeping onto her cold and beautiful face. She, the supreme ruler of the far north, the high and mighty Ice Empress. To survive and become a god, she actually had to lower herself and bow to a human today. Snow Empress bit her red lips. Although extremely ashamed, she endured the awkwardness and spoke very stiffly. From now on, this Empress is your summoned beast. Listening to this fearless icy beauty being forced to say such an embarrassingly explosive line, the corners of Huo Yuhao's mouth curled up again. Huo Yuhao's main body, which had been resting with closed eyes, slowly opened its eyes. He looked through the one-way glass, quietly staring at Xiao Hongtian on the other side, who was frantically bidding. Huo Yuhao leaned back on the sofa, a look of extreme pleasure on his face. Very good. Now, Snow Empress's origin belongs completely to me. As for that empty embryo, I'll be merciful and leave it for you. You better make sure you catch this massive landmine. Chapter 210, Snow Empress, I just left the god-sealing platform, and now I'm in the box of ultimate bliss. Buzz. The summoning contract was officially established. In this instant, Huo Yuhao clearly felt an extremely mysterious connection arise between himself and the Snow Empress. Wait. Huo Yuhao snapped his eyes open, a flash of wild joy appearing in the depths of his gaze. He was astonished to find that this contract connection didn't just stop at the Snow Empress alone. It's not just the Snow Empress. The entire Ice Sky Snow Lady clan of the far north has actually established a connection with me through this contract. Huo Yuhao marveled inwardly. This feeling was exactly like in the Naruto world when Uzumaki Naruto signed the summoning contract with the Toad clan of Mount Myoboku. He could clearly sense it. As long as he was on the Douluo Continent, he could use this cross-spatial connection to summon any Ice Empress from the clan to fight for him at any time. Depending on the amount of spirit power and chakra he infused while performing the hand seals, he could even precisely control the scale of the summoning. Infuse a little, and he could summon a small Ice Empress of a few hundred years. If he gave it his all, he could directly and forcibly summon the 690,000-year-old dominator of the far north, the Snow Empress, before him. Excellent. This is equivalent to directly obtaining an army of Ice Sky Snow Ladies. Next. It's time to take you away, Snow Empress. At the same time, in the Kamui dimension, atop a towering blue stone pillar, Huo Yuhao's wood clone, which had been sitting cross-legged with eyes closed, suddenly snapped them open. Without any hesitation, Huo Yuhao's wood clone instantly raised its hands, turning into a blur of afterimages as it rapidly performed hand seals. Boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram. Summoning technique, Ice Empress. Bang. Huo Yuhao slammed his palm onto the stone slab in front of him. Buzz. In an instant, a spatial suction force terrifying to the extreme was generated within the Kamui dimension. This suction was so massive that it even caused Huo Yuhao's wood clone to tremble violently. To ignore the physical isolation of the rank 9 spirit tool, the god sealing platform, and forcibly drag out the origin of a nearly 700,000-year-old vicious beast. The amount of chakra required was simply astronomical. Hey. Instead of panicking, a flash of arrogance crossed Huo Yuhao's eyes. Don't underestimate me. Aikibi chakra, come forth. Boom. As his voice fell, the space behind him distorted violently. The phantom of the ghetto statue suddenly emerged. In an instant, Skydream's chakra surged out frantically like a bursting flood. This pale blue-tailed beast chakra continuously converged into the body of Huo Yuhao's wood clone. Get over here. Bang. Accompanied by a deafening sonic boom, a massive extremely dense white smoke exploded in the center of the Kamui dimension. An aura of extreme deep cold instantly swept through the entire space. The smoke slowly dissipated. An exquisite woman with long snow-white hair, wearing a nice blue noble gown, instantly appeared within the Kamui dimension. It was indeed the Snow Empress. This place is. The Snow Empress looked around at the cold, eerie blue stone pillars, feeling that the golden chains that had bound her for so long had finally vanished. A surge of wild joy immediately welled up in her heart. Outside the god-sealing platform. I finally escaped that hateful cage. However, this joy of regained freedom lasted for less than a second. Ah! The Snow Empress's face suddenly turned pale, and her body began to tremble violently. She felt with horror that her 700,000-year spirit power, which was already extremely chaotic because her transformation had been interrupted, had completely lost control in this instant after losing the forced suppression of the god-sealing platform. A destructive ice blue storm began to expand and rage frantically within her body. Oh no. The Snow Empress was struck with terror, her beautiful face filled with pain and anxiety. Yuhao, my power. I can't control it, it's about to explode. Seeing this scene, the Ice Empress nearby also instantly panicked. She was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, her small face pale as she rushed in front of Huo Yuhao and shouted anxiously. Yuhao, why are you just watching? Shuei is about to die. Quickly use your invincible ghetto statue to think of something. Facing the Ice Empress's hysterical plea for help, Huo Yuhao just stood there quietly with his hands in his pockets. No. My cultivation hasn't reached rank 50 Spirit King yet. The Snow Empress cannot serve as the ghetto statue's Gobi yet. In fact, it wasn't that the ghetto statue couldn't absorb the Snow Empress. But at this stage, if he absorbed her, she could only be refined as part of the Nibi chakra. If that happened, Huo Yuhao would only obtain the ice element from the Snow Empress's origin, while the wind element would be completely wasted. Hearing this answer, the Ice Empress stamped her feet in frustration, jumping up and down with tears of anxiety almost welling up. What? Then what do we do? Are we just going to watch helplessly, as Shuei self-destructs right here? At this moment, the Ice Empress could only rage impotently, looking exactly like a helpless wife. Be quiet. Huo Yuhao gave her a cold sideways glance. Then, he slowly raised his right hand and pointed lightly toward the open space in front of him. I said she couldn't be the Gobi. But I didn't say I didn't have other ways. Buzz. Accompanied by a ripple in space. A giant box emitting a dark red glow, with the 4 eerie faces of joy, anger, sorrow, and pleasure carved on its sides, instantly appeared out of thin air within the Kamui dimension. It was the box of ultimate bliss. Snow Empress, this is an emergency, I'll have to trouble you for now. Huo Yuhao looked at the struggling Snow Empress and said in a deep voice. Stay in this box of ultimate bliss for a while. Once I break through to rank 50, I will naturally let you out. Bang. As soon as he finished speaking, the heavy lid on top of the box of ultimate bliss was suddenly flipped open by an invisible force. Boom. A profound suction force, terrifying to the extreme, was instantly generated from within the box. This suction turned into a visible dark purple vortex. Ah. The Snow Empress let out a cry of surprise. She didn't even have time to react before her entire person, along with the violent ice and snow energy about to lose control and explode within her, was instantly and firmly drawn by this vortex, pulled directly toward the interior of the box of ultimate bliss. Why, is it another sealing container? In the second before being completely sucked into the box, the Snow Empress looked at the pitch-black opening of the box, feeling a sense of utter despair. She had only just escaped the damned god-sealing platform. And in the blink of an eye, she had successfully checked into this whatever the hell box of ultimate bliss. This is truly such a hateful feeling. Whoosh. Along with the Snow Empress's final complaint, the box of ultimate bliss was truly worthy of being the container once used to imprison the remnant soul of the Rakshasa god, Bibi Dong. In just a short moment, like a whale inhaling water, it sucked in the Snow Empress and her origin power, which was enough to level the entire Star Luo city completely dry. Buzz. After the suction was complete, the box of ultimate bliss slowly rotated half a turn in place, and the lid closed with a heavy thud. Finally, it even gave a crisp notification sound in a very human-like manner. Ding. That sound was as comical as a Pokeball finishing a capture. Seeing the Snow Empress's crisis resolve, Shuei, the Ice Empress instantly turned into a streak of emerald green light, appearing beside the box of ultimate bliss. She tightly hugged the box of ultimate bliss in her arms, pressing her face against it, her eyes slightly red as she shouted excitedly. That's great, Shuei. I'm so happy, we're finally reunited. The box of ultimate bliss seemed to sense the Ice Empress's call, and the body of the box vibrated slightly twice in response. Inside the box, hearing her best friend's voice, a warm current also welled up in the Snow Empress's heart, making her very happy. Of course. It would be even better if she weren't trapped inside the box of ultimate bliss. In the outside world. At the Starlight Auction House. At this time, the competition for the grand finale item, the 100,000-year soul beast embryo, had already entered a white-hot stage. In the hall, representatives of various major forces were arguing until they were red in the face. I bid 50 million. 55 million. 60 million gold coins. Accompanied by Xiao Hongchen's frantic and determined bidding from within the Sun Moon Empire box. The price had already been driven up to a terrifyingly astronomical figure. And at this moment, Huo Yuhao's main body, sitting in the corner of the Shrek box, slowly opened his eyes. Hearing the deafening 60 million bid from outside, the corners of Huo Yuhao's mouth curled into a satisfied arc. Excellent. The Snow Empress has been successfully summoned and taken away by me. And inside that god-sealing platform, because of the residual extreme cold spirit power left behind when the Snow Empress departed, it can still perfectly maintain its original appearance from the outside. Guo Yuhao looked at the god-sealing platform emitting white light on the large screen. Right now, it was nothing more than a bomb. The Snow Empress belongs to me, and this embryo belongs to you. Guo Yuhao mocked coldly in his heart. Sun Moon Empire, this shocking landmine. You must be sure to catch it firmly. Chapter 211, Snow Empress belongs to me, the embryo belongs to you. I bid 100 million gold coins. Inside the Sun Moon Empire box, Xiao Hongchen slammed the bidding button and let out a roar. His voice spread throughout the venue via a voice-amplifying spirit tool. Boom. The entire venue fell into a deathly silence. 100 million gold coins. This was by no means a small sum. One must know that the annual tax revenue of the capitals of the three great empires on the Douluo Continent barely reached this figure. At this appalling price point, no one except for the top few powers on the continent could afford it anymore. Ordinary sects didn't even have the qualification to bid. Inside the Diao Academy box, Princess Vina of the Heavenly Soul Empire stared fixedly at the screen, biting her red lips. 110 million gold coins. Vina pressed the bidding button without hesitation, secretly calculating in her heart. My second spirit is the rare snow lotus. This 100,000-year soul beast embryo, containing pure ice attributes, is simply tailor-made for me. If I can absorb it, my second spirit will definitely undergo a qualitative leap. And Sect Master Du is about to arrive in Star Luo City. With him overseeing things, it's absolutely impossible for anyone to dare snatch something from under the body sect's hands. The only variable now is, I only hope that those nouveau riche from Minghal, who only know how to throw money around, won't fight me to the death anymore. However, things didn't go as she wished. Hey. Hearing someone raise the price, Xiao Hongchen didn't back down. Instead, he let out an extremely contemptuous laugh. 150 million. Xiao Hongchen threw money around lavishly, adding 40 million in one go. Then, he shouted arrogantly toward the entire venue. Who else? Hearing this extremely arrogant provocation. Inside the Diao Academy box, Long Aocean, who had been watching coldly from the side, finally couldn't hold back. Long Aocean stepped forward half a pace and mocked mercilessly. TCH. Just a bunch of nouveau riche with more money than brains, who only know how to rely on external objects. What's there to be arrogant about? Faced with Long Aocean's mockery, Xiao Hongchen didn't get angry but instead showed an extremely smug expression. What's wrong with being nouveau riche? Xiao Hongchen leaned back on the sofa and, through the one-way glass, fired back fiercely in a condescending tone. This is an option, we're comparing who has more money. Being poor is the original sin. If you can't afford it, don't play. Hearing these words, Long Aocean's face turned ashen, yet he found himself unable to refute. Because their funds were indeed not as plentiful as Minghal's. As for Xiao Hongchen, his mood at this moment was extremely pleasant. Finally, the pent-up frustration from being hit by Long Aocean's 1,000 years of death on the field a few days ago. Today, in this auction hall, he had finally vented it thoroughly. Meanwhile, in the Shrek Academy box. Listening to those terrifying bids that easily exceeded 100 million, Xiao Xiao, who had been watching quietly, couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air, showing a surprised expression. Oh my god. The price has actually been raised to over 150 million gold coins. Xiao Xiao's large eyes were full of shock as she murmured to herself. Are the people from the Sun Moon Empire all this domineering? Could this Minghal be even richer than our Shrek Academy? Hearing Xiao Xiao's exclamation, a smug smile involuntarily curled at the corner of Hikadu's mouth. That expression made it seem as if the one Xiao Xiao had just praised wasn't Minghal, but himself. Hikadu subconsciously puffed out his chest and showed off. Of course. Junior sister Xiao Xiao, there's something you don't know. This Minghal controls the production and sales of the highest level spirit tools in the entire Douluo Continent. In terms of financial background, it wouldn't be an exaggeration at all to call it the most domineering power on the entire continent. However, Hikadu's explanation, which was full of pride and the ill-timed, strange expression on his face, instantly drew the attention of the others in the box. Shu Sanchi turned his head, his brow furrowing slightly, showing an extremely suspicious expression. I say, second senior brother. Shu Sanchi sized up Hikadu and asked bluntly. When others praise Minghal for being rich, what are you getting so proud about? Beibei's eyes also flickered slightly, looking at him with a hint of scrutiny. Yeah. Looking at your sharing in the glory, appearance. It makes it seem like you're not a person of our Shrek Academy at all, but rather an undercover agent sent by the Sun Moon Empire's Minghal. Shu Sanchi slapped his thigh and took the opportunity to tease with his usual loose tongue. Haha, second senior brother, you really don't say. With your burly build and your pitch black skin, you look exactly like the people from the Sun Moon Empire's imperial family. You wouldn't happen to be that legendary Sun Moon Empire prince who's on the run, would you? Ha 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 ha. Boom. This seemingly casual joke was like a clap of thunder, instantly exploding in Hikadu's mind. The smile on Hikadu's face froze instantly, and a layer of dense cold sweat visibly broke out on his forehead. Not good. Hikadu's heart began to throb violently. I couldn't have really been exposed, could I? Faced with everyone's suspicious gazes, Hikadu's brain worked at high speed, and he hurriedly stammered out a forced explanation. Of course not. Stop joking around, I just. As a core disciple of the Soul Tool Department, I usually pay more attention to this greatest enemy of our academy. Right, know yourself and know your enemy. Looking at Hikadu's flustered appearance, which was practically a confession. Eldazan, who had been resting with his eyes closed on the sofa, opened them slightly, a flash of sinister sharpness in his gaze. This idiot. Eldazan cursed secretly in his heart. Truly a piece of rotten wood that cannot be carved, useless. A prince, of all things, almost exposed his true identity just to show off in front of a little girl. To prevent Hikadu from saying more and making more mistakes. Eldazan immediately cleared his throat a few times and used his majestic voice to forcibly stop the farce. Ahem. Alright, students, stop the idle chatter. Eldazan stood up, brushed the chicken leg crumbs off his clothes, and ordered in a deep voice. Tonight's auction is already over for us. All of you, return to your hotel rooms immediately under Wang Yan's lead. Do not linger outside. As for me, I still have some business to attend to. Hearing Elder Zahn say he had business to attend to. Sitting in the corner, Huo Yuhao's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. Business to attend to. Naturally, it was to go and rob the robbers. This old thing clearly couldn't wait to go outside the city and forcibly snatch that immortal herb seed and the mysterious ancient jade from the Akatsuki organization's hands. Just as everyone was preparing to get up and leave, Shu Sanchi, who had never been very serious, suddenly rolled his eyes and called out to Elder Zahn. Wait, Elder Zahn. Are we just going to watch with our eyes wide open, as the people from the Sun Moon Empire bid away this 100,000-year soul beast embryo so easily? Elder Zahn stopped in his tracks, a puzzled expression appearing on his face, and turned to ask. Sanchi, what do you mean by that? Shu Sanchi grinned, letting out a burst of extremely wretched and sinister laughter. He rubbed his hands together, leaned in close to Elder Zahn, and whispered with a devious smile. Hee, Elder Zahn, think about it. I see those nouveau riche from the Sun Moon Empire are dead set on this soul beast embryo this time, they're determined to get it. Since we can't get it, why don't we intentionally give them a hand with the price? A calculating light sparkled in Shu Sanchi's eyes. As long as we maliciously raise the price, we can make them spend tens of millions more in wasted money. That way, we can maximize the financial losses of their Ming Hall. It'll disgust them to death. Hearing this underhanded idea, Elder Zahn was first taken aback, then his old face instantly bloomed into an extremely satisfied, one could even say, kindly, smile. He reached out his greasy hand and patted Shu Sanchi's shoulder hard, praising him greatly. Wonderful. Sanchi, your brain works well, kid. It's very much to my liking. Good, let's do it that way. Sitting on the sofa, Huo Yuhao couldn't help but roll his eyes and twitch the corner of his mouth upon hearing the conversation between this master and disciple. This Shu Sanchi really was a troublemaker. This truly was the standard, Shrek style. However, it didn't matter. Go ahead and fight for it. The harder you fight, the better. In any case, the Snow Empress's origin has already been taken by me. That empty embryo shell, which could explode at any time, can be left for you all to fight over until your heads bleed. On the auction stage. Seeing that no one had raised the bid for a long time, Princess Shujuju felt some regret that she couldn't push the price higher, but she was also ready to drop the gavel. 150 million, going once. 150 million, going twice. Inside the Sun Moon Empire box. Listening to Princess Shujuju's countdown, Xiao Hongchen's face already showed an expression of wild joy and certain victory. 100,000-year soul beast embryo. Twin spirits. I, Xiao Hongchen, am destined to stand at the absolute peak of this continent. However, just as Princess Shujuju was about to shout, going price, and Xiao Hongchen was preparing to open the champagne in celebration, at the very last tenth of a second, an extremely abrupt and provocative voice rang out through the entire auction hall via the voice-amplifying spirit tool. 200 million. The bidder was none other than Shu Sanchi in the Shrek box. Inside the Sun Moon Empire box, the smile on Xiao Hongchen's face froze instantly. What? Chapter 212, Top-Tier Gambit and Top-Tier Battle of Wits. 210 million. 220 million. 240 million. Shu Sanchi and Xiao Hongchen refused to back down, and finally, the number settled on the sound of Shu Sanchi's wretched voice. Sun Moon Empire exclusive box. Bang, asterisk. Xiao Hongchen slammed his fist on the table, his eyes bloodshot and his breathing heavy like a bull's. Damn it. How do those penniless bastards from Shrek still have extra funds? No, I must have this embryo at all costs. I absolutely cannot lose to these primitives. I'm raising the bid again. With bloodshot eyes, Xiao Hongchen slammed the bidding button and roared. 250 million. Boom, asterisk. When this astronomical price appeared on the large screen, everyone present gasped in unison. Earth Dragon Gate box. Nan Chocho stared at the screen, dumbfounded, her mouth hanging open wide enough to fit an egg. In all her years, this was the first time she had seen money being thrown around so crazily. Her mother, Nan Shui, who was sitting beside her, lectured her. Chocho, watch closely. This is the gambit between top-tier powers. Nan Chocho nodded, only half understanding. A bid of over 200 million was likely a first in the history of the entire Douluo Continent. Sun Moon Empire box. After calling out this astronomical price, he saw that the Shrek box opposite them had finally fallen silent. Xiao Hongchen panted heavily, his face once again flushing with insufferable arrogance. He mocked the direction of Shrek frantically. How about that, you Shrek wimps? Can you still afford it? If you don't have the money, just shut up and go home to sleep. Xiao Hongchen crossed his arms, a confident sneer curling on his lips. He couldn't wait to see the expression of defeat on Shu Sanchi's face. However, to his surprise, Shu Sanchi, on the opposite side, wasn't frustrated at all. He. Shu Sanchi let out an incredibly wretched laugh, shrugged his shoulders, and shouted back. We can't afford it. Toad, you win. Congratulations on spending 250 million on an egg. The air instantly froze. The smugness on Xiao Hongchen's face instantly stiffened. His brain buzzed, and he realized it in an instant. Those bastards didn't intend to buy it at all. Their crazy bidding just now was entirely to disgust him and maliciously drive up the price. What? Xiao Hongchen trembled with rage, pointing at the Shrek box and cursing. Malicious price gouging. Does your Shrek Academy have no shame at all? Facing Xiao Hongchen's frustration. In the box across the arena, Shu Sanchi turned around arrogantly. No shame. This is part of the auction rules. We bid normally, it was a mutual agreement. You chose to follow, so who's to blame? Shu Sanchi threw Xiao Hongchen's previous words back at him verbatim, with devastating effect. Being poor is the original sin. If you can't afford it, don't play. If you can't handle it, don't play. Ha 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 ha. You. Xiao Hongchen's vision went dark with rage, and he nearly spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. This sudden change in tone left the major powers present dumbfounded once again. Inside the Diao Academy box, Princess Vina of the Heavenly Soul Empire watched the two top-tier academies, which were at each other's throats just a moment ago, now brawling like common street hags. Her mouth twitched frantically as she blankly muttered. I don't understand. Heavenly Soul accent. Meanwhile, in the Earth Dragon Gate box, Nan Chocho turned her head suspiciously toward her mother. Mama. Is this the gambit between top-tier powers you mentioned earlier? This is like pulling out 6 high-purity ninjas to blast each other in a super win game. Or as ridiculous as Naruto defeating Kagaya with his sexy jutsu. Nanshui. The scene before her was clearly far beyond her expectations as a sect master. Shrek Academy's moral floor was truly unfathomable. This sudden turn of events. Princess Shujuju, standing on the auction stage, was inwardly overjoyed. Who cared if it was malicious price gouging? Regardless, the harder Shrek and the Sun Moon Empire bid against each other, the more money the Star Luo imperial family would ultimately receive. This was a solid 250 million. The Star Luo treasury was going to burst. To keep herself from laughing out loud in public, Princess Shujuju frantically recalled the numerous times White Tiger Duke Daihao had defied imperial edicts, barely managing to suppress her laughter. She took a deep breath, raised the auction gavel, and made the final call. 250 million, going 3 times. Sold. Congratulations to the esteemed guests from the Sun Moon Empire for successfully bidding on this 100,000-year soul beast embryo. Sun Moon Empire box. Meng Hongqian, looking at her brother who was on the verge of fainting from anger, clenched her fists in righteous indignation. Shrek went too far this time. To maliciously drive up the price and use such underhanded tactics. She looked at her grandfather in the main seat with concern. Because of them, grandfather, you had to spend so much on this embryo. That's 250 million. However, to the siblings, surprise. Hall Master Jing Hongqian, the master of Ming Hall, calmly picked up his teacup and took a gentle sip. Alright, shower, Munger. Not only did Hall Master Jing Hongqian show no sign of distress, but he also exuded a sense of shrewdness. Both of you, rest easy, there's no need to be so angry. A mere 250 million gold coins is nothing to our Ming Hall. Saying this, Hall Master Jing Hongqian set down his teacup, a glint of cunning flashing in his eyes. Moreover, when I came to Star Luo City for the tournament, I didn't come empty-handed. On the way, I borrowed a full 100 million gold coins from the Star Luo Imperial Bank. So, in the end, we didn't actually spend much of our own money on this embryo. What? Both Xiao Hongqian and Meng Hongqian were stunned. Xiao Hongqian's mind raced. Looking at his grandfather's half-smile, he seemed to suddenly understand something. Grandfather, you mean? Hall Master Jing Hongqian stroked his chin and let out a low, cold laugh. Exactly, it's just as you think. Our Sun Moon Empire's long-prepared plan is about to be launched. When the time comes, we will initiate a special military operation against the Douluo Three Kingdoms. Why should I return money that I borrowed through my own ability? If the Star Luo Empire wants it back, they'll have to come to Ming Hall and ask me for it in person. The implication was clear. He had no intention of paying it back at all. What do you call this? This is called a $0 purchase. As expected of grandfather. Xiao Hongqian praised sincerely. Indeed, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. This is a true top-tier battle of wits. On the other side, the Starlight auction had concluded successfully. In the backstage where the spotlights had faded, Pain, a wood clone disguised by Huo Yuhao, successfully obtained the immortal herb seeds and the blue ancient jade he had won. Goods received. However, the very moment his fingers touched that indigo blue tomo. What, this is? Far away, Huo Yuhao's true body snapped, his eyes open. A surge of law power. Surprisingly, it bypassed the barriers of space through the connection between the wood clone and the main body, transmitting instantly. Buzz. Huo Yuhao's Sharingan. At this moment, it resonated intensely with that tomo. Chapter 213, 9 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect, watch me ambush the Akatsuki organization. This tomo. It actually resonates so strongly with my Sharingan. An extremely urgent sense of desire instantly welled up in his heart. At the same time, Huo Yuhao's original body, far away in a room in the Star Emperor Hotel, suddenly snapped, his eyes open. The hands of the original body and the wood clone formed hand seals simultaneously at this moment. Flying Thunder God, mutually instantaneous revolving technique. Whoosh. Accompanied by the sound of space being sliced through. Huo Yuhao's original body and the wood clone disguised as Pain instantly swapped positions perfectly. The moment he appeared, Huo Yuhao didn't hesitate for a second. He reached out and directly grabbed that blue tomo. Buzz. Just as Huo Yuhao's fingertips touched the blue tomo, the ancient tomo actually transformed into a streak of blue light and instantly merged into his eyes. Hiss. Huo Yuhao took a sharp breath and covered his eyes. An extremely sharp, stabbing pain instantly exploded. It seems. In the depths of the Mangekyo, a brand new ocular technique is being catalyzed and nurtured by this power. Huo Yuhao carefully sensed the changes deep within his eyeballs, but his brow furrowed slightly. However, because the power of this blue tomo is incomplete, missing half, this new ocular technique cannot be fully birthed yet. Thinking of this, Huo Yuhao lowered his hands. A cold smile curled at the corner of his mouth. Since the blue one is incomplete, then I'll just go and snatch the other piece too. Kakuzu. We're leaving the city. Get ready. Once we leave Star Luo City, perhaps it will be a hard battle. Hearing the words, hard battle. In the dark green eyes of Kakuzu, who followed behind him, a greedy green light burst forth instead. Gia. Kakuzu let out a series of extremely ear-piercing, strange laughs as he rubbed his hands together, his tone full of impatience. No problem, leader. This old man's wallet has long been thirsty. What hard battle? In his eyes, those guys outside preparing to rob the robbers were all walking ATMs. He was now looking forward to the 9 Treasure Glazed Tile Sector other forces coming to ambush them, the more, the better. Only in this way could he use their wealth to heavily compensate for the massive bleeding of funds at the auction just now. At the same time, Star Luo City, 9 Treasure Shop. This was the largest stronghold of the 9 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect within Star Luo City. Sect Master Ning Ziyuan, along with 2 titled Douluo enshrined elders, were gathered here, their faces grim. Sect Master Wu Feng's grandfather, the rank 94 Crimson Dragon Douluo, slammed the table and roared with an extremely irritable temper. Those 2 men in black were simply too arrogant. They completely disregard our 9 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect. Let's act quickly. Even if I die, I absolutely cannot stomach this insult. Beside him, the High Priest, the rank 96 Divine Steed Douluo, was also ashen-faced. Boom. He struck the ground with a heavy halberd in his hand, making the entire room tremble, and said angrily. That's right. Those 2 pieces of trash who popped out of nowhere actually dared to speak such arrogant words in public, insulting my 9 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect as a second-rate power. Sect Master, give the order. Watch this old man go and poke 10,000 transparent holes in them. Ning Ziyuan rubbed his temples with a headache. He waved his hand, trying to calm their emotions. Seniors, don't be in a hurry. According to rumors from within the Douluo imperial family, those two cloaked men are very likely members of the Akatsuki organization that has been in the spotlight recently. Ning Ziyuan reminded them with a solemn expression. That mysterious Akatsuki organization just wiped out the White Tiger clan overnight. We must not underestimate the enemy. However, hearing this, the Crimson Dragon Douluo let out a disdainful cold snort. Hey, what bullshit Akatsuki organization? The Crimson Dragon Douluo's eyes were full of arrogance, nothing but a bunch of rats hiding their heads and tails. Wait until this old man sets a fire, then we'll see how mysterious they are. Speaking of this, the Crimson Dragon Douluo looked at Ning Ziyuan with a hint of questioning in his tone. Sect Master, you're stalling like this, could it be that you're afraid? Ning Ziyuan only felt a deep sense of powerlessness and helplessness. The people of the Crimson Dragon lineage were all like this, hot-tempered, brainless, and extremely prone to causing trouble. Supposedly, that junior named Wu Feng wasn't behaving at Shrek Academy either, actually being reckless enough to nearly offend that Douluo Yuhao to death. Fortunately, Ning Tian was socially adept, which prevented the two sides from becoming sworn enemies. Sigh. Ning Ziyuan sighed deeply in his heart. Why is it that besides my daughter Ning Tian, all my subordinates are these kinds of fools who can't achieve anything great? If this continues, how can my 9 treasure-glazed tile sect not fall into ruin? Seniors have misunderstood, this sect master will naturally take action. Ning Ziyuan stood up, a flash of ruthlessness in his eyes. Once the 9 treasure disciples are assembled, the moment those two from the Akatsuki organization leave the city, we strike. ... Outside Douluo City, in the wilderness of the outskirts. A dark and windy night is the time for killing and arson. Douluo Yuhao and Kakuzu were walking unhurriedly along a small path. Suddenly, Douluo Yuhao's footsteps paused slightly. Come out. Douluo Yuhao's voice was low, sounding exceptionally clear in the silent night sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Accompanied by a series of dense sounds of breaking air. Countless spirit masters dressed in black and wearing masks lunge out like ghosts from the tree canopies and bushes in all directions. With a rough glance, there were as many as over 100 people. These people surrounded Douluo Yuhao and Kakuzu, brimming with killing intent. Among them, a man in black who was the leader took a step forward. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 black. 8 spirit rings rose from beneath his feet. He was impressively a high-level spirit Douluo powerhouse. Kid. The leading spirit Douluo stared at the storage ring in Douluo Yuhao's hand and let out a cold laugh, his tone icy. Leave everything you got at the option. And we might show some mercy and give you a quick death. Looking at this group of bandits who were like hungry wolves, Douluo Yuhao not only didn't show the slightest panic but instead let out a disdainful sneer. He shook his head slightly, his voice flat. I wasn't talking to you. What? Hearing this nonsensical sentence, the leading spirit Douluo was stunned for a moment. Not talking to us. Then who was he talking to? Buzz. Just as those 100+ men in black were confused. In the black shadow stretched out by the moonlight beneath Douluo Yuhao's feet, a ripple like water suddenly appeared. A figure wearing a red cloud black cloak and a white fox mask emerged like a ghost. It was none other than Julie. I'll finish you all in an instant. Cursed seal of heaven, open. Flash. Julie's entire being transformed into an extremely dazzling silver stream of light, instantly disappearing from her original spot. Because her starting speed was too fast and her explosive power too strong. The wide Akatsuki cloak she wore couldn't even keep up with her body, left behind to float quietly in midair. Swish, 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 swish. In the silent wilderness, countless crisscrossing lethal silver lights instantly flashed. Those silver claw marks were simply impossible to capture with the naked eye. Ah. Poochie. What kind of speed is this? Shrill screams and the sound of sharp blades cutting through flesh merged into one in the night sky. The 100+ black-clad spirit masters present didn't even have the reaction time to release spirit abilities for defense before they were all killed. Thump. The leading 8-ring spirit Douluo clutched his spurting neck tightly, his knees buckling as he fell heavily to the ground. He stared with wide eyes that would not close in peace, a wind-leaking roar coming from his throat. This, how is it possible? Thud. The spirit Douluo fell, his life force completely cut off. Buzz. The silver light paused in midair, recondensing into Julie's form. Behind Julie, a pair of huge dark purple wings actually unfolded. This was her ultimate form after fusing with that dark demonic evil god tiger torso bone, and achieving perfect resonance with the cursed seal of heaven. In this state, her speed and power were already comparable to an agility attack system titled Douluo. Killing 100 people in a single breath was nothing. Whoosh. The purple wings on Julie's back flapped, and her figure flashed again. She precisely flickered back to her original spot and reached out calmly, grabbing the Akatsuki cloak still floating in midair. With an elegant motion, she put the Akatsuki cloak back into her storage ring. Julie knelt on one knee. Leader, the assassination is complete. ... At the same time. Inside Douluo City, on the rooftop of the Star Emperor Hotel. The night wind howled. Hikaru was half squatting at the edge of the rooftop, holding a soul tool telescope and staring fixedly in the direction outside the city. At this moment, his arms were trembling uncontrollably and violently. Second senior brother, how is it? Shu Sanchi, standing behind him, poked his head out and asked impatiently. The Akatsuki people left the city, right? Did they start fighting with those other forces planning to rob them? Are they getting beaten badly? Hikaru swallowed hard and answered in a stuttering voice. They started fighting. I saw, over 100 people surrounding those two from the Akatsuki organization. But. Hearing this, Shu Sanchi's eyes lit up, and he pressed for more. But what? Hurry up and say it. Were those two Akatsuki people hacked to death? Hikaru slowly lowered the telescope in his hand and turned around. His dark face was now filled with horror. No. It was those 100+ people. Who were, instantly, all killed by the Akatsuki organization. What? The smile on Shu Sanchi's face froze instantly, and he roared in disbelief. Over 100 people, instantly killed. Second senior brother, are you FC King kidding me? Chapter 214, The Ambush of the 9 Treasure-Glazed Tile Sect. Douluo Yuhao, how many floors must a bag of rice carry? Sanchi, I'm not joking. Hikaru's voice faltered, his eyes filled with horror. I saw it with my own eyes, a white-haired woman emerged from that pain's shadow. Then, in just an instant, she turned into a streak of silver light and sliced all those 100+ high-level spirit masters into pieces. In a single instant. After listening to Hikaku's description, Bebe, who had been watching from the side and was originally quite calm, saw his face instantly turn ashen. What? Bebe clenched his fists tightly, his nails digging into his palms. A subordinate sent out at random actually possessed such terrifying strength. Just how deep were the waters of this Akatsuki organization? Xiaoya. Bebe murmured painfully in his heart. Facing such an unfathomable organization of monsters, how on earth am I supposed to rescue her? Just as Bebe fell into self-doubt. What are the three of you doing here in the middle of the night? A sharp shout suddenly interrupted everyone's thoughts. The newcomer was none other than Zhang Lechuan. Seeing Zhang Lechuan appear, Bebe quickly composed himself and stepped forward to explain. Senior sister, we're here watching the battle. Traces of the Akatsuki organization appeared outside the city. I wanted to witness Elder Zahn take action and defeat those two evil soul masters from Akatsuki. A flicker of hope flashed in Bebe's eyes. Then, I will personally interrogate them for Xiaoya's whereabouts. However, Zhang Lechuan remained unmoved by Bebe's explanation. With a cold face, she reprimanded them sternly. Nonsense, get back inside immediately. A battle of that level is not something your current cultivation can interfere with. Even the aftershocks could potentially injure you. Zhang Lechuan looked at them with a sense of disappointment. Instead of wasting time watching the commotion here, you'd be better off returning to your rooms to focus on your cultivation. Look at Yuhao. He stayed behind closed doors as soon as he returned, focusing entirely on his cultivation. That is how a genius should act. Hearing Zhang Lechuan's words, which clearly carried a hint of favoritism, a strong sense of loneliness and bitterness suddenly welled up in Bebe's heart. Why? He keenly felt that ever since Douluo Yuhao arrived at the academy, Sister Lechuan's attitude toward him seemed to have completely changed. The senior sister who used to care for him deeply now spoke of Douluo Yuhao in 2 out of every 3 sentences. But Bebe wanted to explain further. Boom. At that moment, a thunderous roar suddenly erupted from a very distant direction outside the city. Even from such a distance, one could still feel the violent spirit power fluctuations vibrating through the air. Hikaku abruptly raised his telescope and cried out. Ah, they've started fighting. A battle at the title Douluo level has begun. Seeing this, Shu Sanchi quickly stepped forward and shamelessly pleaded. Senior sister, look, the fight has already started. We'll just stay here on the rooftop and promise not to run around. Just let us watch until the end. This is a rare encounter between powerhouses. Zhang Lechuan looked at the firelight reflected in the distant night sky and shook her head helplessly. Fine. Just this once, don't let it happen again. Although she agreed on the surface, Zhang Lechuan's fist, hidden in her sleeve, was clenched tightly. She stared coldly toward the outskirts of the city, spirit power circulating within her body. Akatsuki organization, is it? No matter what your background is. Tanya is a student of my Shrek Academy and my junior. To dare harm my companion. I, Zhang Lechuan, will absolutely not rest until I've settled the score with you. ... Outside Star Luo City, in the suburban wilderness. Damned Akatsuki organization. How dare you slaughter the elite disciples of my 9 treasure glazed tile sect. Accompanied by a furious roar, a red-haired old man descended into midair with an aura that seemed capable of destroying heaven and earth. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 black. 9 spirit rings pulsed. The newcomer was Wu Feng's grandfather, the level 94 titled Douluo, the Crimson Dragon Douluo. Die, you rats. Boom. The 8th spirit ring suddenly lit up. 8th spirit ability, Red Dragon Purgatory. Roar. A massive, dark red fire dragon emitting terrifying heat instantly took shape in the air. The fire dragon roared, carrying the power to incinerate everything, its target aimed directly at Douluo Yuhao and Kakuzu below. Facing this violent strike from a titled Douluo, Douluo Yuhao stood his ground, not even bothering to take his hands out of his pockets. He simply uttered 4 words calmly. Kakuzu, do it. Understood, leader. Kakuzu's raspy voice rang out. Rip. Accompanied by the sound of tearing clothes, Kakuzu's back suddenly bulged. A black mask monster abruptly crawled out of his body. Facing the massive fire dragon diving down, the water attribute mask monster opened its large mouth. Earth grudge fear, water line. Sizzle. An extremely thin but highly compressed high-pressure water jet instantly sprayed from the mask monster's mouth. This water line was like an indestructible blade, carrying a terrifying cutting force that could slice through steel as it slashed upward toward the fire dragon. Slash. The collision of water and fire did not produce a violent explosion. That seemingly invincible red dragon was actually sliced in half, smoothly and instantly, like tofu before this high-pressure water line. Losing its balance, the fire dragon exploded on the empty ground not far from Douluo Yuhao, turning into a cloud of white steam. Effortless, defeating the enemy in a single move. The smoke slowly dissipated. Behind the Crimson Dragon Douluo, the figures of 2 old men gradually became clear. They were Ning Ziyuan, the sect master of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect, and that level 96 divine steed Douluo holding a long halberd. Ning Ziyuan looked at the corpses scattered across the ground, his face ashen and his hands trembling. His heart was bleeding. According to his original plan, he was going to have these 100+ elite disciples of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect first form a binding formation to trap these 2 Akatsuki members. Then, he and the 2 titled Douluo enshrinements would descend like gods to crush them. But he never expected this. That white-haired female assassin on the opposite side actually erupted with terrifying speed and power comparable to a titled Douluo. Those 100+ elites didn't even have time to activate the formation before they were all slaughtered in an instant. These were the true pillars of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect. They were insta-killed like they were nothing. This time, the 9 treasure glazed tile sect had truly suffered a crippling blow. Excellency of the Akatsuki organization. Ning Ziyuan suppressed the bleeding pain in his heart, stepped forward, and shouted sternly, feigning composure. Killing over 100 disciples of my 9 treasure glazed tile sect without cause. I demand an explanation. Before Douluo Yuhao could speak, Kakuzu let out an extremely mocking sneer. His dark green eyes swept over the Crimson Dragon Douluo in midair, his tone full of disdain. Hey, a mere level 94 cultivation. You talked so big just now, I thought you were actually strong. Pain, incarnated by Douluo Yuhao, stepped forward, his purple rinnegan looking down coldly at Ning Ziyuan. Explanation. We have bestowed pain upon them. It is simply that they were too weak to enjoy it. Boom. These words were arrogant to the extreme. Describing slaughter as a bestowal and death as enjoyment. Ning Ziyuan was so angry his lungs felt like they were bursting. In that moment of eye contact. Huo Yuhao suddenly felt an extremely strong resonance coming from the blue tomo in his eyes that had just recently fused. The source of that resonance was on Ning Ziyuan. This is. I spent so much effort searching for it, only to find it right here. The other tomo was indeed in the hands of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect. At the same time, Ning Ziyuan also keenly sensed that the ancient red jade he carried on him was now trembling and burning wildly in his robes. Mutual induction between the precious jades. Ning Ziyuan's greed overcame the grief of losing his disciples. As I thought, there must be a connection between these two precious jades. Ning Ziyuan shouted frantically in his heart. As long as I can kill these two guys and snatch the precious jade in their hands. As long as the two jades can be combined. The opportunity contained within will definitely be enough to compensate for all the losses the 9 treasure glazed tile sect suffered tonight. It might even allow us to return to the peak of the continent. Chapter 215, Dark Arena, the 6 Paths of Pain, present. Your Excellency of the Akatsuki organization, hand over the gemstone, and I can still. However, he hadn't finished his sentence. Save your breath. Kakuzu's raspy voice rudely interrupted him. The gemstone and all of you. I want it all. Kakuzu took a step forward, his dark green eyes flashing with an extremely greedy green light. He sized up the 3 big fish opposite him. Hey, the 9 treasure glazed tile sect, I remember it's an ancient sect with a long-standing legacy. The bounties on its sect master and elders are already extremely high. Moreover, I imagine the corpses of titled Douluo can fetch a good price on the underground black market. Being stared down by Kakuzu, Ning Ziyuan suddenly felt his skin crawl, a chill rushing straight to the top of his head. What did that look mean? Was that the way you look at a person? What did he mean by, corpses can fetch a good price? What do you people take life for? Ning Ziyuan took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the alarm and dread in his heart, his face instantly turning ashen. If that's how it is. Ning Ziyuan abruptly took half a step back and shouted sharply. Seniors, please go all out and slay these 3. I will support you. Ning Ziyuan had already completed a comparison of combat power and tactical deduction in an instant. This Kakuzu had just erupted with the pressure of a level 95 super Douluo. That white-haired female assassin, judging by her aura, was at most an early-stage titled Douluo. As for that mysterious leader, Pan, who had been acting superior and whose aura couldn't even be sensed. He was likely just a high-level super Douluo. If he were truly a level 99 limit Douluo or god, why were there absolutely no titles or legends left behind about such a person? As long as he hasn't reached limit Douluo. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in Ning Ziyuan's eyes. Under the full amplification of my 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda, both enshrined elders can possess strength rivaling a high-level super Douluo for a short time. 3 against 3, the advantage is mine. Having thought this through, Ning Ziyuan no longer hesitated. 7th spirit ability, 7 treasure avatar. Boom. A dazzling, tens of meters tall phantom of the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda instantly rose from the ground behind him, illuminating the surrounding night sky as bright as day. However, just a moment before Ning Ziyuan was about to release his spirit avatar and place the amplification halos on the 2 enshrined elders. Julie, who had been standing beside Huo Yuhao, suddenly moved. In her crimson eyes beneath the mask, a purple light suddenly swirled. Spirit bone skill, Dark Arena. Buzz. A deep purple stream of light, with an unstoppable momentum, instantly locked onto Ning Ziyuan in the rear and struck him hard. What? Ning Ziyuan felt his vision blur as an irresistible, terrifying pulling sensation instantly enveloped his entire body. Even his newly condensed 7 treasure avatar was rapidly distorting under the effect of this power of law. What kind of spirit ability is this? Accompanied by a cry of terror. Flash. Julie and Ning Ziyuan's figures simultaneously turned into a purple light and vanished from the spot instantly. Everything happened far too quickly. So fast that the 2 titled Douluo in front had no time to come to the rescue. Bastard, what have you done to the sect master? Realizing their sect master had been forcibly pulled into an unknown domain, the hot-tempered Crimson Dragon Douluo's eyes nearly split with rage as he roared out. Die for me. 6th spirit ability, Crimson Dragon Furious Charge. Roar. Flames erupted around the Crimson Dragon Douluo as he transformed into a red stream of light carrying destructive high temperatures, like a furious dragon, charging straight for Huo Yuhao in the rear. Don't even think about it. Kakuzu snorted coldly and kicked off the ground violently. Earth Grudge Fear, Earth Spear. Instantly, Kakuzu's entire skin turned a deathly pitch black, completing its hardening and emitting a metallic luster. Boom. Kakuzu, like a pitch black steel shield, stood firmly in the path of the fire dragon, using his physical body to block the Crimson Dragon Douluo's furious charge head-on. Sparks flew in all directions, and the earth cracked. Kakuzu remained as steady as a mountain, letting out a raspy mock. Your opponent is me. On the other side of the battlefield. The divine steed Douluo looked at his intercepted companion, a ruthless glint flashing in his eyes. Don't get cocky. The heavy halberd in his hand erupted with a blinding blood-red light. Die, pain. 6th spirit ability, Army Breaker. Whoosh. The divine steed Douluo exhausted all his spirit power and violently hurled the halberd from his hand. The halberd turned into a blood-colored bolt of lightning that tore through the sky, carrying the unstoppable momentum of an army breaker, aimed straight for Huo Yuhao's face. ... At the same time, deep in the dense forest several hundred meters away from the battlefield, gluttonous beast Douluo Elder Zahn was concealing his aura. Elder Zahn lay prone on a thick tree branch, watching the battlefield with somber eyes. Why is that Kakuzu's spirit power so bizarre? Elder Zahn's brow furrowed as he analyzed carefully from the shadows. After blocking the Crimson Dragon Douluo's 6th spirit ability, the spirit power in his body actually refilled instantly. That kind of recovery speed is not like a normal spirit master at all. However, his actual combat strength is just average. At most, he's a punching bag that can take a beating. Elder Zahn picked up the wine gourd at his waist, took a satisfying swig, and the corner of his mouth curled into a calculating, cold smile. Fight to your heart's content. When both sides have fought until you're bloodied and bruised, this old man will step in to clean up the mess. Actually, the reason Elder Zahn was unwilling to rashly reveal himself and act, besides wanting to reap the spoils of the fisherman, was because of a deeper reason. And that was fear. As a veteran level 98 Super Douluo, his perception of danger was extremely acute. At this very moment, he actually couldn't see through the background of that leader, Pan, who stood there without even lifting a hand. He was too clean. There wasn't a trace of spirit power leaking out, as if what stood there was just a mass of air. This was truly too bizarre. Instead of this old man taking the risk, it's better to let these two old fellows from the 9 treasure glazed tile sect test him first. A sinister light flashed in Elder Zahn's eyes as he muttered to himself. The chess game in the dark has long been set. Now, only the endgame remains. In the center of the battlefield. The blood-colored halberd thrown by the divine steed Douluo had already rapidly cut through the night sky with a sharp whistling sound. It was only a few meters away from Huo Yuhao's face. Pain. Let me see just what your background is. Facing this thunderous strike, Huo Yuhao didn't even blink an eye. He just slowly raised his right hand, his low voice echoing in the night sky. Assemble. Buzz. At the very moment Huo Yuhao's voice fell. On the ground in the path of the halberd, a massive purple magic circle instantly emerged without any warning. Within the magic circle, 5 of the 9 rings simultaneously erupted with blinding light. Flash, flash, flash. In an instant. 5 men in black, wearing red cloud black robes, with uniform short orange hair and masks on their faces, lunged out from the array on the ground like ghosts. Meeting the blood-colored halberd. One of the masked men standing at the very front reached out his right hand without hesitation. Rakshasa barrier. Boom. A purple energy wall, as solid as substance and indestructible, instantly condensed in midair. Clang. The divine steed Douluo's Sherwin 6th spirit ability, Army Breaker, slammed hard against the purple energy wall. Aside from stirring up a ring of blinding sparks, it couldn't even cause a single crack in that wall. It was blocked firmly outside. The halberd fell to the ground with a clang. What? The divine steed Douluo sucked in a breath of cold air, looking in shock at these 6 mysterious powerhouses who had suddenly appeared. As the smoke cleared, the 5 orange-haired masked men stood in a fan shape, protecting Huo Yuhao behind them. The 6 Paths of Pain. Present. Chapter 216, We Are Pain, Kamida. After intercepting divine steed Douluo's 6th spirit ability, the Pains didn't pause for a moment, instantly launching a fierce counterattack with various attributes. Lightning, frost, death. 5 distinct attacks rained down from the sky, smashing toward divine steed Douluo in midair. What? Divine steed Douluo was pale with shock, retreating repeatedly to avoid the brunt of the assault, his eyes filled with horror. 5 clones. They are all actually at the titled Douluo level. And they even have completely different abilities. What kind of clone skill was this? This was way too sinister. The scene before him completely exceeded divine steed Douluo's understanding. He stared fixedly at Huo Yuhao, who was protected in the center by the 5 figures, and barked a question. You, just who are you? Huo Yuhao stood his ground, slowly spreading his arms as he said in a deep voice. We are pain, where wa pain. God, Kamida. This scene was just like the true 6 paths of pain from the Naruto world descending upon the Douluo continent. Of course, Huo Yuhao had not yet awakened the Rinnegan, so he naturally couldn't use the true 6 paths of pain technique. This was merely a combo technique he had developed using 9-face sub-UT and wood clone. To be precise, Huo Yuhao had possessed the wood clones with the 9-face beasts, creating these 5 special clones. Hey, playing God. Divine steed Douluo laughed out of sheer anger, forcibly suppressing the trepidation in his heart. You dare call yourself a god with just a few clone techniques? Take this. 9th spirit ability Peerless Domain. Whoosh. The blood-colored halberd that had been deflected quickly flew back into his hand. Boom. Behind divine steed Douluo, that black 9th spirit ring suddenly flared with light. A piercing red light erupted from the halberd in his right hand. In an instant, this red light expanded rapidly, transforming into a massive hemispherical barrier that enveloped Huo Yuhao and all 5 clones within. A domain. Huo Yuhao's eyes flickered slightly. Divine steed Douluo gripped his halberd and grinned, his tone incredibly arrogant. Within my peerless domain, your combat power will be severely suppressed. While my strength will be increased several times over. Unrivaled under heaven. Slash. Accompanied by a deafening roar. Divine steed Douluo held his halberd and swung it down fiercely, unleashing a crimson destructive light dozens of feet long. Under the terrifying amplification of the peerless domain, the power of this strike had truly reached the level of a rank 97 Douluo. Crack. The several counterattacks launched by the 9-face beasts were instantly split in two before this crimson slash completely severed. Meanwhile. Star Emperor Hotel, rooftop terrace. Shu Sanchi asked. Second senior brother, how is the battle going? Hikaru held up his soul tool binoculars, his voice trembling as he provided commentary. That guy named Pain from the Akatsuki organization, he released 5 clones, and they're all actually at the titled Douluo level. And they have completely different abilities. Hikaru swallowed hard, his face pale. In this fight, I'm afraid things look grim for the 9 treasure glazed tile sect. Hearing this, Shu Sanchi gasped in shock. What? To possess such terrifying means, even his clones are titled Douluo. Could that Pain's true body be a powerhouse at the limit Douluo level? Just as the two were paralyzed with horror. Beside them, Bebe frowned in dissatisfaction. He took a step forward and directly interrupted their analysis, which was discouraging their own side's morale. Sanchi, you underestimate Divine Steed Douluo too much. As the high priest of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect, Senior Divine Steed is a long-established powerhouse. Bebe stood with his hands behind his back, forcefully planting a massive flag. He isn't someone who can be defeated by just any stray dog on the street. I cannot imagine what it would look like for Senior Divine Steed to be defeated. Outside the city, the wilderness battlefield. Pain. Divine Steed Douluo charged directly at Huo Yuhao's face, halberd in hand, trailing crimson light. Facing this world-destroying aura, Huo Yuhao didn't panic at all. He calmly spat out 2 words. Broken mask. Crack, crack, crack. Following Huo Yuhao's command, the crisp sound of several masks shattering rang out. The white masks on the faces of the 5 9-face beasts standing at the front suddenly shattered, revealing their true forms. Shinigami Electrolux. White Tiger Ice Empress. Golden Snake Thunder Hell Prison Vine. Nando Sage BB Dong. Jade Maiden. Boom. As the masks shattered, with the exception of Jade Maiden, the combat power of the other 4 9-face beasts was instantly unsealed and terrifically amplified, breaking through their shackles to reach the Super Douluo level. BB Dong and Electrolux even instantly soared to the level of rank 98 Super Douluo. What? Divine Steed Douluo's charging figure came to a sudden halt. Just then, BB Dong gave a cold laugh, her right hand suddenly clenching the void. Buzz. The Rakshasa demonic side instantly appeared in her hand. Rakshasa barrier binding. Flash. BB Dong waved her staff, and a deep purple barrier rose from the ground. Like an indestructible cage, it instantly bound Divine Steed Douluo tightly within the barrier. What? To be able to forcibly interrupt my, unrivaled under heaven. Divine Steed Douluo was terrified, desperately hacking at the barrier with his halberd, but it was to no avail. Then, BB Dong quietly uttered a few words. Eternal wound. BB Dong raised the Rakshasa demonic side high, pushing the spirit power in her body to the limit. She gripped the long handle with both hands and swung it down with all her might toward Divine Steed Douluo inside the barrier. I didn't expect that after 10,000 years, I would actually be able to personally slaughter another piece of trash from the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Slash. A massive purple stream of light, carrying terrifying power, instantly slashed out, striking Divine Steed Douluo directly. Divine Steed Douluo's pupils constricted violently. He stared fixedly at the stunning woman swinging the scythe, and a portrait from the ancient records of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect suddenly flashed through his mind. What? This appearance, this skill. Divine Steed Douluo let out the final, most desperate scream of terror in his life. You are, BB Dong. I actually, challenge a god. PFF. The purple light swept through mercilessly. The defense Divine Steed Douluo was so proud of was like thin paper before the divine technique, Eternal Wound. His entire being was instantly shattered into hero shards. In the final moment before his consciousness vanished, Divine Steed Douluo finally understood why this orange-haired youth, Pain, dared to boastfully call himself a god. Because, damn it, the Spirit Hall Supreme Pontiff from 10,000 years ago, the Rakshasa god BB Dong, was actually just one of his subordinates. Chapter 217, Elder Zahn, a flaw revealed. Elder Zahn loses his right arm. Star Emperor Hotel, top floor rooftop. Hikaru suddenly released his trembling hands, and the soul tool binoculars fell directly to the ground. Instant kill. Hikaru's eyes widened, his face filled with horror. Hearing the words, instant kill, Bebe, standing to the side, immediately revealed a smile that said it was only to be expected. I told you, senior brother. Bebe crossed his arms over his chest, a cold smile curling at the corners of his mouth as he spoke loudly. That Pain, who only knows how to play tricks, was insta-killed by Senior Divine Steed in one move, right? However, Hikaru swallowed hard with difficulty. He turned his head to look at Bebe, his voice trembling. No. It was Senior Divine Steed, who was, insta-killed by one of Pain's clones. What? The smug look on Bebe's face instantly froze. His brows furrowed, and he immediately retorted. Senior brother, is there something wrong with your soul tool binoculars? Senior Divine Steed is a veteran level 96 Super Douluo powerhouse. How could he possibly be insta-killed by a mere clone? In Bebe's understanding, a Super Douluo was the ceiling of combat power, besides Elder Zahn and the Elders of the Sea God Pavilion, who could easily insta-kill a powerhouse of this level. What's more, it was just a clone. This was simply the most ridiculous thing in the world. Just as Bebe was vehemently denying it, Zhang Lechuan, who had been standing in front with her eyes closed sensing the situation, slowly opened her eyes. Her expression was solemn to the extreme, and she interrupted Bebe's fantasy in a low voice. No. I sense it. It really was Senior Divine Steed, who was insta-killed. And not even his bones remain. What? Bebe felt as if he had been struck by lightning, completely losing his voice. Zhang Lechuan gazed at the direction outside the city where the firelight soared into the sky, a strong sense of worry involuntarily arising in her heart. If even a clone possessed the terrifying strength to insta-kill a Super Douluo, then how strong was Pain's main body? Elder Zahn, he'll be fine against these two, right? Zhang Lechuan prayed silently in her heart. But soon, she forcefully shook her head, tossing this sliver of worry out of her mind. Although Elder Zahn often messed things up by drinking while leading the team and seemed a bit unreliable, he was still the level 98 gluttonous beast Douluo. In external combat, Elder Zahn had always been extremely powerful. It's fine. Zhang Lechuan took a deep breath and set a flag. Elder Zahn will win. ... Outside Star Luo City, the suburban battlefield. With a thought, Douluo Yuhao quickly pocketed the storage ring that had dropped after Divine Steed Douluo's death. This was the relic of the High Priest of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect, the wealth inside was definitely an astronomical figure. Having done this, Douluo Yuhao's expression was calm, but his mind was rapidly estimating the energy consumption within his body. With this combat style of summoning the 9-faced beast and outputting high-intensity chakra. Currently, I can only maintain it for 10 minutes at most. If I need to exert power at the limit Douluo level, the time will only be shorter. The upcoming battle must be settled quickly. In fact, the stamina issue of the 9-faced beast had always been a shortcoming. This was closely related to the number of tailed beasts the ghetto statue had devoured and Douluo Yuhao's own total amount of chakra. Whether it was capturing more vicious beasts to feed the statue or Douluo Yuhao's main body awakening the sage body as soon as possible. As long as one of these was achieved, the 9-faced beast's active time could be greatly increased. On the other side of the battlefield. Arg. Crimson Dragon Douluo let out a shrill scream. Kakuzu's hands had long since turned into countless black earth grudge fear threads, like a dense black net, binding Crimson Dragon Douluo tightly in midair. Leader, it's over on my side too. Kakuzu's hoarse voice rang out. Suspended in midair, Crimson Dragon Douluo now felt that life was no longer worth living, his eyes filled with despair. He was a dignified level 94 titled Douluo, a veteran of 100 battles. Yet for the first time, he was facing an opponent with nearly infinite spirit power and bizarre methods. He was practically pinned to the ground and crushed the entire time. Damn it, to think I would lose to a mere soul engineer. Crimson Dragon Douluo cursed through gritted teeth. Just then. Buzz. A dark purple spatial vortex twisted into existence not far away. Julie, with white hair and wearing a fox mask, walked out of the vortex carrying Ning Ziyuan, who had already foamed at the mouth and completely fainted, in one hand. Leader, the assassination is complete. Julie casually threw the sect master of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect onto the ground like trash, pouting with a voice full of disdain. This 9 treasure glazed tile sect master is too weak. Being a spirit saint just like me, he couldn't even take one of my moves. So boring. Hearing this complaint, Kakuzu, who was binding Crimson Dragon Douluo nearby, couldn't help but pause, his mouth twitching wildly. Kakuzu complained speechlessly in his heart. You are an agility attack system spirit saint who has fused a dark demonic evil god tiger spirit bone and possesses terrifying lethality at the titled Douluo level. While he is just a defenseless, pure support system spirit saint. How could he possibly compare to you? Aren't you just bullying an honest man? However, in that split second when Kakuzu was distracted. Boom. A surge of extremely vast and dense earth element spirit power, like a bursting tsunami, suddenly erupted from behind Kakuzu. A flaw revealed. An old and violent roar resounded through the night sky. At some point, Elder Zahn, who had been lurking in the shadows observing, finally seized this once-in-a-lifetime opening and struck boldly. 7th Spirit Ability, Gluttonous Beast Avatar. 8th Spirit Ability, Gluttonous Beast Devour. Boom. The 7th and 8th Spirit rings behind Elder Zahn shone brightly at the same time. His body instantly expanded violently, turning into a gluttonous beast divine ox as large as a small mountain. Seeing this giant beast appear, Crimson Dragon Douluo, trapped in the black threads, was immediately ecstatic. Ha 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 ha. Akatsuki Organization, your days of glory are over. Hope for survival ignited in Crimson Dragon Douluo's eyes as he roared. The Shrek people have come to save us. However, as it turned out, he still lacked a basic understanding of Shrek style. Roar. The massive gluttonous beast divine ox opened its bloody maw, directly swallowing the defenseless Kakuzu. Along with Crimson Dragon Douluo, who was tied up by Kakuzu, in one gulp. Elder Zahn, what are you doing? In midair, Crimson Dragon Douluo suddenly realized what was happening and screamed in terror. I'm on your side. Poochie. Before his words, on your side, could fully leave his mouth, he was completely shredded. A dignified level 94 titled Douluo was turned to dust inside Elder Zahn's belly almost instantly, leaving not even a bone behind. Elder Zahn sneered. Alright, Kakuzu has been dealt with. Pain, you're next. Elder Zahn turned his head and stared fixedly at Douluo Yuhao, his eyes undisguisedly revealing a greedy glint. While in the shadows earlier, he had keenly captured it. While fighting, this Pain actually emitted a trace of divinity. He actually has divinity, yet his cultivation doesn't look like that of a limit Douluo. If I can take down this Pain, perhaps I too will be able to glimpse the secret of reaching level 100 and becoming a god. At this thought, Elder Zahn's breathing became heavy. However, just as Elder Zahn was preparing to attack Douluo Yuhao. What is this? Elder Zahn's expression changed abruptly. He suddenly felt his abdomen bulging violently, like a balloon being frantically inflated. Immediately after, a voice came from inside his belly. Earth grudge fear, volley. Boom. The next second. Fire, water, wind, lightning. 4 extremely violent and incompatible elemental attribute attacks, like 4 destructive volcanic eruptions, instantly burst forth from inside Elder Zahn's abdomen. Arg. Elder Zahn's indestructible gluttonous beast body was instantly blown apart by this terrifying internal explosion. At the critical moment, Elder Zahn made a prompt decision, braving the backlash of severe injury to forcibly deactivate his spirit avatar. Boom. A massive cloud of smoke rose from the battlefield. When the smoke cleared, Elder Zahn fell in a wretched state over 10 meters away, coughing up large amounts of blood. His right arm had completely disappeared in the earlier internal explosion, leaving only a mangled, bloody stump. And in the place where he had just been standing, countless white paper scraps rapidly intertwined and fused in midair. In an instant, Kakuzu's figure slowly condensed once more, completely unharmed. He cracked his neck, his dark green eyes coldly watching the one-armed, horrified Elder Zahn. Hee. How do you plan to defeat the immortal me? Chapter 218, Elder Mew, the strongest limit Douluo. What, an undying body? What kind of bizarre ability is this? Elder Zahn gritted his teeth, his face pale as he frantically circulated the spirit power within his body, forcibly sealing the bleeding from the stump of his right arm. In his mind, images of Kakuzu being blown to pieces and then bizarrely coming back to life using those black threads kept echoing. I clearly crushed him completely. How exactly did this Kakuzu come back to life? Is it some kind of heaven-defying life-saving spirit tool? Or is it a special effect of that disgusting spirit of his? This Akatsuki organization that suddenly popped up, what exactly is their background? No. Today, I must find out the truth about this Akatsuki organization. Just then, in midair, Kakuzu, who had reformed his body, was tightly clutching a pitch-black spirit bone within the wriggling black threads of his right hand. This was the right arm bone that had burst from the flesh when Elder Zahn's right arm was blown off just now. Not bad. It's actually a top-quality 10,000-year spirit bone. Consider this compensation for destroying my spirit tool. Despite his words, Kakuzu's face was filled with an undeniable look of heartache. Damn it, my earth grudge fear masked monsters. Only the Edo Tensei summon themselves can be resurrected indefinitely. Kakuzu's 4 masked monsters, which cost countless rare metals to manufacture, could not be reformed with him. To launch that volley that exploded from the inside just now, those 4 masked monsters had all been destroyed. Kakuzu felt as if his heart was bleeding. Whoosh. With a toss of Kakuzu's right hand, the pitch-black 10,000-year spirit bone traced a perfect arc in the air and was steadily cut by Douluo Yuhao behind him, who casually tucked it into his storage space. Having sent off the spoils of war, Kakuzu turned his head again and fixed his gaze on Elder Zahn. Leader. Kakuzu licked his lips, his tone full of impatience. Let's take down this old guy. I can feel that he definitely has more than one spirit bone on him. He must have more in stock. Hearing himself being treated like a mob that drops gold coins, Elder Zahn's eyes were bloodshot, and he breathed heavily like a bull. Boom. Violent, tsunami-like khaki spirit power erupted around him once more. Scum, don't look down on me. For the prosperity of Shrek. Elder Zahn roared, his lone arm slamming violently into the ground. The 2 of you must die here today. ... Meanwhile, Star Emperor Hotel, rooftop terrace. A rapid and suppressed surge of spirit power drifted from afar with the night wind. Zhang Lechuan, who had been sensing with her eyes closed, suddenly had a drastic change in expression. Oh no. Elder Zahn is in danger. Zhang Lechuan snapped her eyes open and turned to give stern instructions to Bebe, Shu Sanchi, and Hiketu behind her. The 3 of you stay where you are, do not move at all. As the words fell. Zhang Lechuan didn't even have time to explain further, directly transforming into a blinding silver streak of light. She leapt down from the rooftop, flying desperately toward the battlefield outside the city. watching the receding figure of their senior sister. On the rooftop, Beibei's face instantly turned extremely grim. What? Even Elder Zan. In his understanding, his ancestor Elder Mu rarely appeared in the world. And Elder Zan was a level 98 Super Douluo, already an absolute top-tier powerhouse on this continent. He had thought that as long as Elder Zan personally took action, he could easily deal with those two Akatsuki organization members who were playing tricks and bring back Xiaoya. He didn't expect that even Elder Zan couldn't easily resolve these two from the Akatsuki organization and had even fallen into a crisis. Just how deep was the water of this Akatsuki organization? Seeing Beibei's despondent and heavily struck appearance. Beside him, Shu Sanchi patted his shoulder and comforted him loudly. Alright, Beibei, don't worry. Even if Elder Zan runs into trouble, the academy will surely be able to save Xiaoya. Shu Sanchi's eyes flickered with blind confidence in Shrek. Did you forget, your ancestor Elder Mu was the dragon god Douluo? Hearing this, a spark of hope instantly reignited in Beibei's dull eyes. Like a drowning person grasping at the last straw. Yeah. Beibei nodded heavily, his expression becoming firm once more. Sanchi, you're right. After returning to the academy, I'll go and beg my ancestor. Elder Mu was the strongest limit Douluo. ... Outside Star Luo City, suburban battlefield. Boom, boom, boom. Huo Yuhao's expression was cold, and with a thought. He withdrew the other 9 face beasts, leaving only Shinigami Electrolux and Nando Sage BB Dong on the battlefield. Swish, swish. BB Dong brandished the purple-black Rakshasa demonic scythe, while Electrolux swung his gray Shinigami scythe. The two of them continuously launched terrifying energy blades, equivalent to the full power of a level 98 Super Douluo, at Elder Zan ahead of them. Bang, bang, bang. The explosions were deafening, and the khaki light shields constantly shattered under the pincer attack of the two. Although Elder Zan was a veteran level 98 Super Douluo with deep foundations. In the internal corpse explosion just now, he had lost an arm and was heavily injured, his state had already declined significantly. Facing the frantic suppression of two powerhouses of the same level, Elder Zan retreated step by step under the strain, gradually falling into an absolute disadvantage. Damn it, how is this possible? Elder Zan spat out mouthfuls of blood, his eyes full of resentment and horror. These two clones of pain are actually both at the level 98 Super Douluo tier. This simply defied the common sense of the Spirit Master's world. By this stage of the battle, Elder Zan was almost in a state of burning his life force. If he didn't overdraw his blood and chi to hold on, he would likely be killed on the spot the moment those two life-taking scythes caught even a tiny flaw. This Akatsuki organization. Elder Zan clenched his blood-stained teeth, a flash of determined madness in his eyes. Is definitely a great enemy for my Shrek in the future. I can't drag this on any longer. Is it possible that I really have to use that trump card for a mutual destruction today? Just as Elder Zan was prepared to fight for his life and Huo Yuhao had already locked onto him, ready for a killing blow at the critical moment. Suddenly, behind Huo Yuhao, the air temperature plummeted. An extremely blinding and cold silver moonlight instantly pierced the dark night sky, striking with sharp killing intent. 8th Spirit Ability, Descent of the Moon Realm. A silver streak of light cut through the darkness, hurtling toward Huo Yuhao with intense killing intent. Only a meter away from Huo Yuhao, the silver light stopped abruptly, and Zhang Lechuan's true form manifested. Her beautiful eyes were filled with anger, and 8 spirit rings rhythmically pulsed wildly beneath her feet. Die, Akatsuki Organization. Zhang Lechuan let out a cold cry. Moonlight Essence. Zhang Lechuan's right hand tightly gripped a mass of silver moonlight that seemed almost solid, striking at Huo Yuhao with a terrifying power capable of heavily wounding an ordinary titled Douluo. Pointless. Chapter 219, Zhang Lechuan is branded with karma. Buzz. The four-tails chakra within the ghetto statue inside his body was instantly and forcibly mobilized. At this moment, Huo Yuhao's physical quality and explosive power directly crossed the chasm of common sense, gaining a terrifying power equivalent to a level 96 Super Douluo. Huo Yuhao calmly reached out his right hand, arriving first despite moving second. Clap. Huo Yuhao grabbed Zhang Lechuan's wrist in one fell swoop. The cluster of silver moonlight in Zhang Lechuan's right hand, after feeling the absolute crushing power coming from Huo Yuhao, was instantly extinguished like a snuffed-out candle flame. What? Zhang Lechuan's pupils contracted violently, her beautiful face filled with shock. This kind of power. She felt as if her wrists were being held down by a massive mountain. No matter how she circulated her spirit power, she couldn't break free in the slightest. What terrifying strength. Huo Yuhao did not let go. He looked directly at Zhang Lechuan and said indifferently. A mere spirit Douluo. Also comes here to seek death. His cold words made Zhang Lechuan feel as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Of course, Huo Yuhao naturally couldn't just kill Zhang Lechuan like this. He was secretly calculating in his heart. For Zhang Lechuan, he already had another, more far-reaching arrangement. Zhang Lechuan. Setting aside their time spent together day and night recently. Her talent was decent, and she had that blood feud from her family's extermination that was deliberately hidden by the Shrek high level. She was an excellent pawn for controlling Shrek Academy in the future. Playing house ends here. Huo Yuhao casually threw Zhang Lechuan aside, his gaze sweeping coldly toward Elder Zan, who was still stubbornly resisting not far away, and shouted sharply. BB Dong. Attack with full force. As his voice fell. Huo Yuhao was not stingy at all. Inside the ghetto statue in his body, a quarter of the ITB Heavenly Dream Ice Worm's chakra was instantly and forcibly burned. Having received a massive infusion of chakra, BB Dong's phantom instantly solidified. As you command, leader. A purple-black divine light flashed in BB Dong's eyes as she made a sudden slash into the void realm with the Rakshasa demonic scythe. Rakshasa boundary, forbidden. Buzz. A massive and complex purple formation instantly rose from the ground. In an instant, the heavily injured Elder Zan and the just repelled Zhang Lechuan were tightly bound in place by this purple formation. What, BB Dong? Hearing Huo Yuhao's call just now, Elder Zan's eyes were filled with horror. But before he even had time to be shocked by the name, BB Dong, he discovered in despair that he was actually tightly bound by this strange purple formation, as if he had fallen into a quagmire, completely unable to move. How is this possible? I can't move. Inside Elder Zan's heart, stormy waves instantly surged, and cold sweat soaked his back. He felt in terror that under the suppression of this formation, even the circulation of spirit power within his body was being forcibly inhibited. How is this possible? Since he reached a breakthrough to level 98, how many years had it been since he met defeat? On this Douluo continent, besides the 3 limit Douluo, who else could completely crush him? At this time, Huo Yuhao slowly turned around and walked toward the bound Zhang Lexuan. He extended his right hand, palm up, and slightly clenched his fist. In his mind, a thought flashed by rapidly. Since branding others with karma allows me to awaken the templates of Otsutsuki characters, and can also imperceptibly transform the other party into my weapon, then, Zhang Lexuan, I will grant you a grand opportunity. Karma technique. Thinking of this, Huo Yuhao unhesitatingly split off a strand of his own spiritual origin. Ah! Zhang Lexuan instantly felt a terrifying stabbing pain that reached the depths of her soul. This intense pain, which felt as if it were tearing her soul apart, completely exceeded her limit of endurance. She let out a scream, her eyes rolled back, and she completely lost consciousness. She collapsed limply to the ground. After planting the karma, Huo Yuhao didn't even give her a second glance, turning his head directly to lock on Elder Zahn. Alright. Next, it's you, Elder Zahn. The corner of Huo Yuhao's mouth curled into a cold sneer. He knew this old fellow's character all too well. Elder Zahn had run out here in the middle of the night definitely to rob the robber, wanting to snatch the immortal herb seeds and that piece of ancient jade from his hands. Since you took the initiative to come to your death, then I certainly cannot let you go back alive. Huo Yuhao's right hand slowly rose, extending toward Elder Zahn from a distance. Old Electrolux, BB Dong, kill him. Buzz. Receiving the command, Nando Sage, BB Dong, and Shinigami Electrolux, standing behind Huo Yuhao, simultaneously pushed their spirit power to the limit. Instantly, an energy orb emitting a world-destroying pressure rapidly condensed at the tips of their magical artifacts. Feeling the terrifying power contained within that light orb, Elder Zahn, bound in the formation, had his pupils contract violently to the size of needlepoints. Not good. This power. Elder Zahn roared in despair in his heart. If this shot hits, I will definitely die on the spot. Not even my bones will remain. Moreover, what made him feel a deep sense of despair was, in this state of being tightly bound by the purple formation, not only could he not move, but he couldn't even trigger his final trump card to perish together with the enemy. It's over. Will my, Elder Zahn's, lifelong reputation really end in death in this wilderness today? Just as Elder Zahn felt despair and thought he was certain to die at the critical moment. Boom. An extremely brilliant golden spirit power, full of holiness and majesty, suddenly erupted from Elder Zahn's chest without any warning. That golden light was pure and vast, instantly breaking through the purple circular formation set by BB Dong. Crack. The formation binding Elder Zahn shattered at the sound. Immediately after, the sky-filling golden light gathered rapidly in front of Elder Zahn. Ultimately, it actually transformed into a stooped yet grand figure. It was an old man dressed in white. Dragon God Douluo, master of the Sea God Pavilion, Elder Mu. Elder Mu's spiritual clone floated quietly in midair, those deep old eyes looking toward Huo Yuhao, his voice gentle yet carrying pressure. Your Excellency. How about we stop here? Elder Mu sighed and slightly cupped his hands, putting himself in a very low posture. In this matter, our Shrek Academy is indeed the one in the wrong first. Elder Zahn attacked you without cause, that is his fault. I, Elder Mu, am here to offer you an apology. Looking at this Elder Mu spiritual clone that had suddenly appeared, Huo Yuhao's brow furrowed slightly, his thoughts racing in his mind. A backup plan left by Elder Mu. As expected, these old foxes each keep life-saving trump cards. In Huo Yuhao's spiritual detection. Right now, under the fusion and blessing of Elder Mu's spiritual clone, the aura of the originally heavily injured Elder Zahn was steadily and terrifyingly rising. That pressure had actually faintly crossed the threshold of level 98 and reached the level of a limit Douluo. Huo Yuhao narrowed his eyes slightly, quickly analyzing the current pros and cons in his heart. If I use all my trump cards now, even not hesitating to burn all the tailed beast chakra at once, plus the full force strike from old Electrolux and BB Dong, forcibly killing Elder Zahn, who was possessed by Elder Mu's spiritual clone, is not impossible. However, Huo Yuhao waited. The primary task right now is to immediately take all the spoils of war from the 9 treasure glazed tile sect. More importantly, to completely collect those few mysterious tomo that can trigger the Mangekyo resonance. Before getting the tomo and awakening new abilities. Exhausting all his trump card chakra just to kill an Elder Zahn, and even inviting a full-scale deathmatch with Shrek Academy. It was truly unnecessary. This deal was not cost-effective. Having thought this through, the killing intent on Huo Yuhao's body slowly receded. Hey. Huo Yuhao gave a cold snort and arrogantly raised his chin. Since the world-renowned dragon god Douluo has personally come forward to apologize, then I will, for the time being, spare their lives. That spirit bone shall be considered Shrek's compensatory gift to me. As his voice fell, Huo Yuhao lowered his hands. Behind him, BB Dong and Electrolux also immediately understood and dispersed that peak attack that was enough to destroy the world. Huo Yuhao stared at Elder Mu's phantom and coldly threw down a warning. Remember, there won't be a next time. Looking at Huo Yuhao's arrogant posture, Elder Mu's phantom suppressed the anger in his heart. He nodded slightly and responded. It should be so. Chapter 220, a win-win, meaning Huo Yuhao wins twice. Elder Mu, why? Seeing Elder Mu's phantom actually taking the initiative to back down and even agreeing to hand over a spirit bone as an apology. Elder Zahn's eyes were bloodshot, and he wanted to do something more. However, before he could finish speaking, buzz. Elder Zahn suddenly felt his body stiffen as Elder Mu's mental force instantly took over his physical form. The words he originally wanted to say were forcefully stuck in his throat, and he could no longer make a single sound. Your Excellency. Elder Mu, controlling Elder Zahn's body, gave Huo Yuhao a deep look. I shall take my leave. As the words fell, Elder Mu forcibly channeled golden spirit power, transforming into a massive golden stream of light. Sweeping up the still unconscious Zhang Lexuan, he instantly soared into the sky, flying away from this slaughterhouse without looking back. Watching Elder Zahn and the other disappear into the horizon as a streak of light. Standing below, Kakuzu's dark green eyes were full of displeasure. Pa. Kakuzu spat fiercely and cursed loudly. Consider that old geezer lucky for running so fast. Even now, he still felt resentful about the 4 Earth Grudge Fear Mask monsters that Elder Zahn had destroyed. That was all money. Huo Yuhao ignored the grumbling Kakuzu. From his storage space, he took out the high-grade storage ring he had just seized, which belonged to the 9 treasure glazed tile sect master, Ning Ziyuan. Huo Yuhao probed a thread of mental force into it. Buzz. That wonderful and strong sense of fated induction surfaced in his heart once again. The corner of Huo Yuhao's mouth curled slightly. No mistake. That red tomo that caused my Sharingan to resonate is indeed inside this ring. Just as Huo Yuhao was preparing to examine the loot in detail. Rustle, rustle, rustle. From the shadows of the distant woods, a series of trembling footsteps suddenly came. Excellencies, excellencies of the Akatsuki organization. An aged voice drifted from deep within the forest. I am, the vice sect master of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect, Ninguda. Could your excellencies please stay your hands? And return our sect master, to us. An old man wearing luxurious clothes but covered in cold sweat walked out of the woods tremblingly. Ninguda didn't dare to approach at all, he simply knelt on the ground from a great distance with a thud. With a face full of despair, he pleaded. In this matter, it was indeed our sect that was in the wrong first. Our 9 treasure glazed tile sect is willing to pay a high price to ransom the sect master back. Ninguda's heart was practically bleeding at this moment. He had originally thought that with the sect master personally leading the team, plus the intervention of 2 titled Douluo level elders, this ambush would be foolproof. He had followed behind and arrived late, originally only intending to come over to count the loot and clean up the battlefield. But who could have imagined? The sect master's ambush would end in such a tragic, crushing defeat. The 2 protecting elders were killed on the spot, without even a corpse left behind. And sect master Ning Ziyuan was being held in the opponent's hand like a dead dog, taken prisoner. The 9 treasure glazed tile sect had lost 2 titled Douluo level elders in succession, this could already be considered a devastating blow. If now, even the sect master was lost here, then the 9 treasure glazed tile sect would truly be completely finished. Looking at Ninguda, who was kneeling on the ground and kowtowing like he was pounding garlic. A trace of playful, cold light flashed in Huo Yuhao's eyes. Oh. The vice sect master of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect. Huo Yuhao had his hands in his pockets, his tone carrying undisguised mockery. Weren't you all very arrogant back in the auction house? What's the matter, now that you've lost your sect master and 2 elders? Huo Yuhao looked down at him, emphasizing every word. Have you begun to understand pain a little bit? Hearing these heart-piercing words, Ninguda trembled all over, tears streaming down his face. He didn't dare to offer the slightest rebuttal, only forcing out a humble smile that looked worse than crying as he nodded repeatedly. Yes, your excellency Pain is right to lecture us. This is all our 9 treasure glazed tile sect's own doing. Please, name your price. As long as you can release the sect master, we will surely comply. Name a price. Huo Yuhao chuckled, his tone indifferent. 1 billion gold coins. Boom. Hearing this number, Ninguda, kneeling on the ground, felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He instantly slumped down, shouting in utter horror. What? 1 billion? Your excellency Pain, are you joking? Ninguda was so anxious that tears were almost coming out. This is simply impossible. 1 billion gold coins in cash, how terrifyingly large was this sum of money? On the current Douluo Continent, aside from the royal families of the 4 great empires, are super colossi like Shrek Academy and the Sun Moon Empire's Ming Hall. There was absolutely no sector power that could produce so much cash all at once. This sum of money could already be called an astronomical figure. Your excellency Pain, even if you sold our entire 9 treasure glazed tile sect, we couldn't scrape that much together. Ninguda grit his teeth and gave a bottom line. At most, 80 million gold coins. Huo Yuhao didn't even lift an eyelid, coldly spitting out 2 words. 500 million. Ninguda was about to cry, continuing to plead. 100 million, that is truly the limit. Huo Yuhao remained unmoved, his tone firm. 300 million. 1 copper less, and I'll send your sect master down to see those 2 elders. Ninguda's face instantly turned ashen. He looked at the unconscious Ning Ziyuan on the ground, grit his teeth, and with a hardened heart, decided to go all in. Your excellency Pain. Ninguda suddenly raised his head and said loudly. We are willing to pay 200 million gold coins. Plus. Our 9 treasure glazed tile sect secret that has not been passed down for 10,000 years, the exclusive secret manual, heart separation control. This is truly our final bottom line, we cannot give any more. Hearing the 3 words, heart separation control. A sharp, brilliant light instantly flashed through Huo Yuhao's eyes, which had remained as calm as a still well. Heart separation control. I remember, this is a top-tier technique that allows a spirit master to simultaneously and extremely precisely control multiple targets or multiple spirit abilities. In the original story, it could even reach the realm of the 7 apertures exquisite heart. If I can master this secret technique, perhaps I can perfectly solve the shortcoming of insufficient fine control when I simultaneously manipulate multiple shadow clones. Maybe I can even use this to develop some brand new secret techniques. The value of this thing is far higher than mere gold coins. Huo Yuhao didn't hesitate at all and immediately finalized the deal. Deal. Quote. Hearing Huo Yuhao agree so readily and decisively, Ninguda, kneeling on the ground, felt his heart suddenly sink. Oh no. He wanted to cry but had no tears. Agreeing so fast. Did I freaking give too much? But the words were out, and there was no taking them back. Ninguda could only painfully pull out a storage spirit tool from his robes and throw it over like it was a hot potato. Huo Yuhao caught it, and his mental force quickly swept through it. Inside, 2 gold cards from the Star Luo National Bank, each with a limit of 100 million, were neatly stacked. Beside the gold cards lay a yellowed ancient secret manual, with the words, heart separation control, written clearly on the cover. Huo Yuhao nodded with extreme satisfaction. With a casual wave of his hand, he threw the unconscious Ning Ziyuan in front of Ninguda like he was tossing out trash. All right. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Watching the figure of Ninguda carrying Ning Ziyuan as they fled in a panic, Huo Yuhao wore an extremely pleasant smile. This trip was simply a massive profit. Not only did he obtain that extremely mysterious red ancient jade, he also got all the cultivation resources and heaven and earth treasures from the storage rings of the 9 treasure glazed tile sex trio. Now, this old geezer, in order to ransom his man, had actually dropped 200 million gold coins in cash and a divine rank secret technique. This could simply be called a perfect win-win. What does win-win mean? It means that I, Huo Yuhao, win twice by myself. At the same time, above the night sky, amidst the clouds, an extremely dazzling golden stream of light was flying at high speed. Elder Zahn, whose body had been forcibly taken over by Elder Mu, finally regained control of his own body at this moment. As soon as he reclaimed his body, Elder Zan's face became extremely unsightly. Elder Mu, why? In midair, Elder Zan stopped his flight, his hands clenched tightly into fists, as he questioned loudly in extreme confusion. After you possessed me just now, I could have definitely unleashed combat power comparable to the limit Douluo level for a short time. Elder Zan's eyes were full of unwillingness and anger. Although those two from the Akatsuki organization are strange, they definitely couldn't have blocked a strike from a limit Douluo. Why didn't we just take down those two from the Akatsuki organization? Why did we run? Chapter 221, Elder Zan, reattaching a severed arm. Naturally, one seeks the Holy Spirit cult's king of car modifications. Why? In midair, Elder Zan, who had regained control of his body, clenched his fists tightly and questioned Elder Mu with extreme reluctance. Elder Mu, after you possess me, I could definitely burst out with limit Douluo level combat power for a short period of time. Why didn't we take down those two from the Akatsuki organization? Elder Zan, you still have the face to ask me why. Elder Mu's voice echoed in Elder Zan's mind, carrying merciless reprimand. Didn't you sense it? The two spiritual bodies controlled by that man in black carried a supreme divinity. Can you guarantee that he doesn't have the means to burst out with limit Douluo combat power? Elder Mu sighed, his tone filled with deep wariness. Moreover, this mental force clone of mine can only fight alongside you for 1 minute at most. After 1 minute, my divine sense will dissipate. What will you do then? Hearing these words, Elder Zan's face turned ashen, and he gritted his teeth. He knew that what Elder Mu said was correct. If it really became a war of attrition, it would be a pure contest of both sides' endurance. That pain opposite him had released so many terrifying killing moves just now, yet he didn't show the slightest sign of exhaustion, as if the spirit power in his body was infinite. And what about himself? He had already been heavily injured by the internal blast, and his condition was extremely poor. Once the 1 minute limit of Elder Mu's possession passed, he would definitely become a lamb to the slaughter. However, knowing it was one thing, but being able to accept it was another. But Elder Zan's gaze fell on the empty stump of his right arm, and his heart bled frantically. I have lost an arm, and even lost a top-quality 10,000-year spirit bone. If it isn't dealt with in time, I will eventually drop spirit power ranks. The second in command of the Shrek Sea God Pavilion was actually scared into fleeing from battle. He even took the initiative to offer a spirit bone as an apology. He couldn't swallow this resentment. Elder Mu, are you underestimating me too much? Elder Zan's eyes were bloodshot, looking like he was ready to risk his life. Elder Mu immediately understood the meaning behind Elder Zan's angry words. Nonsense. Elder Mu scolded sharply. Elder Zan, do you want to use that move to perish together with the enemy? Your life is not just your own. Shrek still needs you to do more important things. Just as the third Hokage of Konoha, Hiruzen Sarutobi, could never do without Danzo of the Root. Elder Mu, the pavilion master of the Sea God Pavilion who bathed in the sunlight, naturally could not do without Elder Zan. The towering tree that was Shrek Academy would always need someone like Elder Zan to occupy the niche of the Black Hand, who did the dirty work and took the blame. Suppressing dissidents, contacting evil soul masters. Someone had to do these things that could not see the light of day. Elder Mu's tone shifted, becoming deep and cold. Didn't you see? The one captured by the Akatsuki person just now was Ning Ziyuan, the sect master of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect. Moreover, the 2 titled Douluo enshrined elders who protected their sect have already died in battle on the spot. Elder Zan froze for a moment, and then his eyes suddenly lit up. Elder Mu continued to instruct. The current 9 treasure glazed tile sect is like a group of dragons without a leader, it is at its weakest. After returning to the academy, you will immediately be responsible for secretly contacting the people of my Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan. Strike quickly to comprehensively take over the industries and vaults of the 9 treasure glazed tile sect. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan. That was the shared family of Elder Mu in the Tianlong Gate of Dragon City. However, Elder Mu was from the branch family passed down from Grandmaster Yu Xiaoging's lineage, while the current sect leader of the Tianlong Gate was from the orthodox main family. This was one of Shrek Academy's consistent styles. When an ally is in trouble, kick them while they're down. The 9 treasure glazed tile sect had controlled many resources for 10,000 years. Now that the sect master and enshrined elders were all lost at the hands of the Akatsuki organization, this was a perfect, justifiable opportunity to swallow the 9 treasure glazed tile sect in one bite. Of course, this kind of dirty work of looting a burning house could absolutely not be done using Elder Mu's official identity as the Sea God Pavilion master. Just as Hiruzen Sarutobi had a private army of the Sarutobi clan under his absolute command to maintain his image. At a time like this, he needed to use the 300 private soldiers he had secretly cultivated in the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan. I understand. Hearing this guaranteed profit plan, Elder Zan breathed a sigh of relief, and most of the resentment in his heart dissipated. He quickly agreed. Alright, Elder Mu, after the tournament ends, I will take action immediately. Only after cutting off the mental connection. Elder Zan faced the cold wind and sighed faintly in his heart. Elder Mu, oh, Elder Mu. You have, after all, grown old. You've also become weak. Thinking back to when you were in your prime, high-spirited, you were not only the soul skill doctor who created countless spirit abilities, but also the one who once fought all under heaven without a match, known in the Spirit Masters world as the hero of Spirit Masters, the Dragon God Douluo. If it were the peerless you of those years facing the Akatsuki organization's provocation today, you would definitely have fought alongside me to make that pain bleed. How could you possibly bow your head and admit fault so submissively like this? After finishing his lament, Elder Zan's gaze fell back onto his empty right arm. This won't do. If I don't solve the problem of the severed arm and the loss of the spirit bone, my spirit power will definitely drop. A very dark light flashed in Elder Zan's eyes as he plotted in his heart. I heard that the Holy Spirit cult has recently been researching a high-level secret technique to forcibly fuse the bodies of spirit beasts and spirit masters. It seems my right arm can only be left to them to handle. ... Half an hour later. Star Emperor Hotel. When Elder Zan returned to the hotel with Zhang Lechuan, who was still in a coma. Inside the suite, the Shrek crowd, who were waiting anxiously, all had heavy expressions, looking as if they were at a funeral. In the worldview these students had always held, the rank 98 Elder Zan was already the strongest person on the surface in Shrek Academy and even the entire Douluo Continent. In the past, whenever Elder Zan took action, no matter where he went, he was the one who arrogantly bullied others and made them bow their heads to admit fault. But this time, not only did their own side suffer heavy casualties, but even Elder Zan had actually lost an arm and returned in crushing defeat. Elder Zan. Bebe looked at Elder Zan's miserable appearance, couldn't help but take a step forward, and asked with a dry voice. Even you were defeated. Just how strong is that Akatsuki organization? Ma Xiaotao was also full of solemnity as she followed up. That's right, Elder Zan. What exactly is the strength of that pain with the purple rippled eyes? He wouldn't also be a limit Douluo level old freak, would he? Hearing the repeated questions from these two juniors, Elder Zan's face stiffened, and he cursed inwardly. They really had to bring up the one thing he didn't want to talk about. Was he supposed to tell them that he was rubbed into the ground by someone, and finally escaped only after Elder Mu came out to kowtow an apology and even gave away a spirit bone? If this got out, where would his face as the second in command of the Sea God Pavilion go? Ahem. Elder Zan forced himself to stay calm, straightened his face, put on a dignified posture, and scolded loudly. Bebe, Xiaotao. Do not doubt the strength of Elder Mu and myself. He bragged without blushing or his heart skipping a beat. Although the pain's methods are a bit strange, under the perfect cooperation of Elder Mu and myself, that group of Akatsuki bird men has already been beaten into a frantic retreat by us. This hand of mine is nothing more than a minor injury. After finishing this flawless lie, Elder Zan was afraid that this group of shrewd students would ask more details that would expose him. He directly dropped the sentence, I'm going to heal my injuries, then pushed open the window, and with a swoosh, he jumped out and disappeared once again. Looking at Elder Zan's hurriedly departing back, everyone looked at each other. Seeing this, the leading Wang Yan quickly stood up to boost morale. He pumped his fist and encouraged loudly. Students, cheer up. Have absolute confidence in our Shrek Academy and our elders. Elder Mu is the strongest limit Douluo in the world. With him around, Shrek's sky will not fall. ... At this time, in the crowd, Huo Yuhao's main body, who had already used the body flicker technique to complete the swap with his wood clone, stood quietly in the corner, listening to Wang Yan's impassioned brainwashing speech. He curled his lips into an extremely mocking cold smile. Elder Mu is the strongest limit Douluo. Huo Yuhao complained disdainfully in his heart. Hey. This is just as ridiculous as in the Naruto world of my previous life, where they touted the third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi as the strongest Hokage of all generations, every day. From what I see, this old geezer Elder Mu is hardly any different from that old and frail third Hokage. His own person was beaten into a cripple by me, yet not only did he not dare to fight back, he actually took the initiative to apologize and offer a spirit bone to me. With this kind of spinelessness, he deserves to be called the strongest. It's simply the biggest joke in the world. Too lazy to pay any more attention to this group of self-hypnotizing fellows, Huo Yuhao turned and walked back to his room. Closing the door, Huo Yuhao took a deep breath and flipped his wrist. A simple-looking storage ring instantly appeared in his palm. This was exactly the spoils of war captured from the 9 treasure glazed tile sect master Ning Ziyuan during the auction in the ambush just now. Next. It's your turn, mysterious Tomo. I hope you can bring me a little surprise. Chapter 222, Fusing the Red Tomo, Susano Skeleton, and a brand new ocular technique. Inside a room at the Star Emperor Hotel. The system notification sound in Huo Yuhao's mind rang out once again. Host crushed the 9 treasure glazed tile sect and defeated Elder Zan. Akatsuki organization's prestige has increased. Reward, Eternal Mangekyo fusion progress increased by 20%, 35%, 100%. Excellent, the progress of the Eternal Mangekyo has advanced again. Huo Yuhao nodded with satisfaction. Seeing that Zhang Lechuan seemed to need rest, the visiting crowd tactfully took their leave one after another. Soon, Huo Yuhao was the only one left in the room. Just as he adjusted his collar and prepared to leave. Yuhao. Zhang Lechuan, lying on the bed, had her eyelashes tremble slightly before she finally opened her eyes slowly. Those beautiful eyes, which were usually cold and detached, were now filled with a sense of daze. Where am I? She rubbed her aching neck, her memory fragmented. Wasn't I just, outside the city, fighting those people from the Akatsuki organization? Huo Yuhao stopped in his tracks and turned around. Facing Zhang Lechuan's confusion, his expression remained unchanged as he said calmly. Senior Sister Lechuan, you were injured and fainted. This is the Star Emperor Hotel. As for those people from the Akatsuki organization, for some reason, they have already withdrawn on their own. Hearing the word, withdrawn, Zhang Lechuan sat up abruptly from the bed. She grabbed Huo Yuhao's hand, her exquisite face full of anxiety and worry, as she urged him urgently. Yuhao, you must not wander around during this time. That Akatsuki organization is unfathomable, and their strength is extremely terrifying. These dangerous elements must still be active within Star Luo City. It's too dangerous if you go out alone. Huo Yuhao pulled his hands back subtly, his expression indifferent as he slowly replied. Thank you for your concern, Senior Sister Lechuan. I'll be staying in the hotel to cultivate during this time, I won't go far. Seeing Huo Yuhao's composed, steady, and obedient expression, Zhang Lechuan felt her heart settle. She looked at the quiet youth before her and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Yuhao really is reassuring. He just focuses on peaceful cultivation and never goes looking for trouble. Compared to Shu Sanqi and the others who do nothing but cause trouble every day, the contrast was simply stark. A gratified smile played at the corners of Zhang Lechuan's mouth as she said softly. Yuhao, your talent is rare even in 10,000 years. Once you grow up, I believe you will definitely be able to completely resolve the major threat that is the Akatsuki organization for the academy. At this point, Zhang Lechuan's voice paused. A strong sense of loneliness and bitterness surged in her heart, and her eyes dimmed accordingly. I'm still too weak. Back then, that 100,000-year soul beast incident in the Stardo Great Forest not only caused her to lose many companions, but she herself had to drag her heavily injured and dying body to forcibly absorb a 100,000-year spirit ring beyond her rank. This caused irreversible damage directly to her foundation. Combined with that tragic event of losing her companions, it had almost become an inescapable heart demon. The images of her companions dying tragically before her eyes would often surface in her mind without warning, causing her to wake up startled in the middle of the night countless times. All these factors combined made her cultivation speed, once hailed as the #1 genius of the inner court, seem somewhat unworthy of the title. Sensing the disappointment in the depths of Zhang Lechuan's eyes, Huo Yuhao took the opportunity to give her a bit of encouragement. He comforted her softly. Senior Sister Lechuan, don't think like that. You are still young. As long as you resolve the knot in your heart, you will surely become a powerhouse comparable to the Master of the Sea God Pavilion in the future. Master of the Sea God Pavilion. Zhang Lechuan's pupils constricted suddenly. At this moment, in her eyes, Huo Yuhao's figure actually overlapped perfectly with her former high-spirited self. Yuhao. Zhang Lexuan took a deep breath, and her gaze became firm again. Once, my dream was to surpass the past masters of the Sea God Pavilion and stand at the peak of the continent. But now, I only want to protect all of you. She looked at Huo Yuhao and said sincerely. Thank you, Yuhao. From now on, I, your senior sister, will also work hard and risk my life to cultivate. Huo Yuhao nodded and said nothing more, turning to stride away. The moment he closed the door, an extremely cold smile curled at the corner of Huo Yuhao's mouth. Zhang Lexuan, the karma of the Otsutsuki I have already bestowed upon you. Next, it will depend on your own fortune. ... After Huo Yuhao left, Zhang Lexuan sat alone on the bed. She clenched her left hand tightly, her gaze resolute. My will is to protect. I must never let a companion die before my eyes again. Just then. Hiss. She suddenly felt a faint, needle-like stinging sensation coming from the palm of her clenched left hand. Zhang Lexuan opened her palm and looked, it was as smooth as ever, with nothing there. Is it an illusion caused by the aftereffects of the battle just now? She shook her head and didn't take it to heart. ... At the same time. Kamui dimension. The spatial vortex twisted, and Huo Yuhao's figure landed steadily on a blue stone pillar. As soon as he entered the Kamui dimension, he impatiently flipped his wrist. From his storage ring, he took out that red tomo. Whoosh. As soon as the red tomo was exposed to the air, it seemed to sense a power of the same origin. It instantly transformed into a dazzling red stream of light and rapidly surged into Huo Yuhao's eyes. Ah! Huo Yuhao groaned and covered his eyes. The three tomo within his eyes surfaced instantly and began to spin wildly out of control. After a bout of piercing pain, Huo Yuhao instantly felt that his ocular power had been enhanced once again. Moreover, a new ocular technique instantly took shape deep within his eyeballs. Not bad. Huo Yuhao opened his eyes, a fanatical light flickering in them. My ocular power has been enhanced again. Now, I can freely use the first few stages of Susanoo without overdrawing myself. With a thought from Huo Yuhao. Third spirit ability, Susanoo, skeleton. Boom. A domineering indigo chakra instantly erupted from his body. An indestructible indigo energy ribcage instantly clung to and emerged from the perimeter of his body, guarding him tightly in the center. Excellent. Feeling the strength of this energy skeleton, Huo Yuhao nodded with satisfaction. Defense of this level is already enough to rival defensive spirit abilities at the peak spirit saint rank. The attack and defense of Susanoo could continuously evolve along with Huo Yuhao's mental force and ocular power. In the future, it will surely reach the divine rank. Huo Yuhao retracted the Susanoo skeleton and touched his eyes. Currently, only the red and blue tomo have been fused, yet they have brought such immense benefits. Now, I'm really looking forward to what exactly will happen after I get that third tomo hidden somewhere. Obtaining just two has already yielded such a rich harvest. Presumably, after obtaining all three tomo and making it completely whole, there will definitely be a qualitative leap. Perhaps, the true origin of the space-time power and dragon god power contained within these tomo can be fully revealed. Next, it's that bronze mirror in the immortal herb seeds. Chapter 223, Immortal Herb Resurgence, Juliana Edo Tensai. Huo Yuhao sat cross-legged on the high platform, and with a thought. Shua. That dim immortal herb seed in that ancient bronze mirror instantly appeared before him. Ripples appeared in the space. Beside Huo Yuhao, the phantoms of White Tiger Ice Empress and Nando Sage Bibi Dong instantly emerged. Ice Empress held the box of ultimate bliss tightly. Ever since Snow Empress was sealed into the box of ultimate bliss, she had practically treated this box as a treasure, keeping it by her side at all times. Ice Empress leaned forward, looking at the dusty, lifeless seed, and asked curiously. Leader, has the vitality in this seed been completely cut off? Can it really still be revived? Hearing Ice Empress's doubt, a wild smile curled at the corner of Huo Yuhao's mouth. Of course it can. Don't underestimate me. Huo Yuhao slowly raised his right hand. Four Tails chakra, come forth. Under his guidance, a mass of extremely pure emerald green chakra, filled with endless vitality, instantly surged from his palm and poured continuously into the shriveled seed. On top of that, he unreservedly utilized the wood release power within his body. Wood release, growth acceleration. Receiving the dual infusion of massive life force and wood release. The originally dead, pitch-black seed finally underwent a miraculous change. Crack. The seed's skin split open, but it didn't sprout green shoots like a normal immortal herb. Instead, it began to grow taller and expand at a speed visible to the naked eye. Within just a few breaths, this seed actually transformed in Huo Yuhao's palm into a piece of dark green bamboo, pitch-black as ink and radiating a cold luster. Holding the box of ultimate bliss, Ice Empress looked at this ordinary-looking bamboo with a face full of doubt and curled her lip. What kind of immortal herb is this? I have lived for nearly 400,000 years, and I've never heard of such an immortal herb. Judging by its shape, it looks a bit like those 10-year lonely bamboos that can be found everywhere. That was, of course, impossible. Huo Yuhao held up the black bamboo with his right hand. The moment his palm touched it, the surging life force and the astonishing toughness coming from within the bamboo body all proved. The object before him was definitely of the immortal herb grade. While Huo Yuhao was secretly thinking, Bibi Dong scrutinized it for a moment and slowly spoke. Leader, don't listen to the little scorpion's nonsense. I once saw it in the records of the spirit hall. This immortal herb should be the ink jade divine bamboo. Bibi Dong explained with a certain tone. According to the records, consuming this ink jade divine bamboo not only greatly enhances a spirit master's vitality but also comprehensively improves the toughness of their spirit and physical strength. It is a rare top-tier heaven and earth treasure. Hearing this name, a hint of surprise flashed in Huo Yuhao's eyes. Ink jade divine bamboo. In his mind, the setting from the original work instantly surfaced. In the era of Legend of the Dragon King, there was indeed an immortal herb called the ink jade divine bamboo, and it looked just like this. Hearing Bibi Dong's identification, Ice Empress, who had been full of disdain, instantly changed her expression. That's wonderful. Ice Empress cheered and excitedly circled around Huo Yuhao. Yuhao, you truly are the child of fortune. To think that a dead seed you pick up at an auction could be grown into an immortal herb of this level using your ability. Ice Empress urged impatiently. Quickly absorb this immortal herb, raise your spirit power, and reach the Spirit King level soon. Once you reach the Spirit King level, you can convert Shuei into the fifth nine-faced beast. Then Shuei can leave this dark box of ultimate bliss and reunite with me. As if understanding Ice Empress's words, Snow Empress, who was inside the box of ultimate bliss she held, was also excited, and the box of ultimate bliss trembled violently with excitement. Clearly, Snow Empress didn't want to stay in this box for another moment. However, Huo Yuhao pondered for a moment but slowly shook his head. No. Huo Yuhao put away the ink jade divine bamboo, his voice flat yet carrying an unquestionable decisiveness. I have decided not to absorb this immortal herb. Why? Ice Empress cried out in distress. Huo Yuhao explained. Absorbing this ink jade divine bamboo would have limited effects on me. He was very clear about his physical condition. After consecutively absorbing the life gold and intercepting a massive amount of life force feedback from the medicine immortal Douluo, the life force in his body that hadn't been fully fused was still in a state of redundancy, even overflowing. Eating another immortal herb would be a total waste. More importantly, engaging in continuous, life and death limit battles to completely awaken the sage body is the most efficient way for me to enhance my wood release and physical strength right now. Thinking of this, a hint of dissatisfaction arose in Huo Yuhao's heart. At this stage, his paper combat power seemed close to a limit Douluo, but most of his lethality actually relied on the nine-faced beast. Once he left these external forces, his strength could at most contend with a high-tier spirit saint. To completely awaken the perfect sage body, what he needed was to engage in life and death struggles using only his own physical body and chakra, without relying on any external forces. Although fighting with the nine-faced beast was easy, it didn't provide any substantial help in unlocking the sage body. Hearing Huo Yuhao's reasoning, Ice Empress was still somewhat unconvinced. However, when she approached Huo Yuhao, circled his body carefully, and used her mental force to perceive him. Hiss. Ice Empress gasped, her orange-yellow eyes filled with shock. Yuhao, the life force in your body has actually reached such a thick consistency, it even surpasses the level of an ordinary vicious beast. Your body is simply not like a human's. Thinking of this, Ice Empress completely lost her temper and could only temporarily back down. Anyway, this kid is a cultivation maniac, he will reach the Spirit King level sooner or later. Ice Empress held the box of ultimate bliss tightly and sighed helplessly. Shui, it seems you'll have to suffer a bit longer for now. Hum. The box of ultimate bliss gave a faint and aggrieved tremble, as if in silent protest. ... Huo Yuhao temporarily put the ink jade divine bamboo into his storage ring. Then, his gaze fell upon that ancient bronze mirror. Bibi Dong. Huo Yuhao asked in a deep voice. You said that the soul of an old friend of yours is sealed inside. Bibi Dong took a step forward, looking at the bronze mirror, a complex emotion appearing on her beautiful face. That's right, leader. Bibi Dong responded with a certain tone. I can clearly feel that the soul sealed within is an old friend very close to me. Very well. A sharp light flashed in Huo Yuhao's eyes. An old friend from the spirit hall 10,000 years ago. That would definitely be top-tier combat power. In that case, Bibi Dong, draw out her soul. Huo Yuhao's hands instantly formed seals, and the red light in his eyes surged. I will use the Impure World Reincarnation technique on her. Hearing the words, Impure World Reincarnation, Bibi Dong's emotions fluctuated slightly. She hadn't expected that on the Douluo Continent 10,000 years later. She would actually be able to meet an old friend again. As you command, leader. Bibi Dong mobilized her massive purple-black spirit power, turning it into a beam of light that struck directly onto the surface of the bronze mirror. Soul, draw. Hum. The bronze mirror vibrated violently, emitting a shrill hum. Immediately after, a ball of white soul light was forcibly extracted from the mirror by Bibi Dong, floating in midair. At the same time, Huo Yuhao flipped his wrist. Thud. A cold corpse was thrown onto the stone slab from his storage space. This corpse was none other than one of the assassins from the 9 treasure glazed tile sect who had reached the spirit saint level and had been intercepted and killed by him outside Douluo City. The sacrifice is ready. Huo Yuhao instantly clapped his hands together. Impure World Reincarnation technique. Boom. Along with Huo Yuhao's low shout, dense black rays instantly spread out beneath the spirit saint's corpse. Then, endless snow-white paper scraps emerged out of thin air, like a swarm of insects, instantly covering the spirit saint's corpse. Huo Yuhao pointed at the soul ball in midair. Soul, enter. Whoosh. The white soul ball was pulled and instantly vanished into the corpse wrapped in paper scraps. Hum. With the injection of the soul, the array on the ground erupted with a piercing light. The Impure World Reincarnation technique was complete. The white light gradually dissipated, and the paper scraps in the air settled. On the high platform of the blue stone pillar, a woman with brilliant golden hair and an extremely slender and charming figure slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Her tightly closed eyes slowly opened. Her sclerae were the characteristic grayish-black of the Impure World Reincarnation, and her skin was covered in fine cracks. The golden-haired woman lowered her head and looked at her hands, her charming face filled with disbelief and confusion. Haven't I already died? Where is this? Just as she was uncertain, her gaze suddenly swept over the beautiful figure standing in front of her, wearing the Supreme Pontiff's robes. Boom. The golden-haired woman's body shook violently, as if struck by lightning. You are. Her voice instantly choked up, and tears welled in her eyes. Teacher. The one reincarnated via the Edo Tensei was none other than the holy maiden of the spirit hall 10,000 years ago, Juliana. Seeing this disciple whom she once treated as her own and loved the most, Bibi Dong could not hide the excitement and turmoil in her heart at this moment. You are. Bibi Dong stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. Nana. Chapter 224, Juliana, a mere 4 spirit rings, why seek your own destruction? Teacher. Juliana's voice trembled, filled with unbelievable shock. You're not dead. I clearly remember, on the battlefield of Jialing Pass, you were struck by Tang San's Asura demon sword in. At this point, Juliana's words came to a dead stop, and she bit her lower lip hard. Thinking of the name Tang San, endless regret and guilt instantly rose within Juliana's heart. As the holy maiden meticulously cultivated by Spirit Hall, she had enjoyed the top resources Spirit Hall had to offer. However, back in Slaughter City in the Stardow Great Forest, she had fallen irredeemably in love with a man named Tang Yin. She had repeatedly betrayed her own side, even secretly leaking information to Tang San. It could be said that she personally raised a divine rank enemy for Spirit Hall, ultimately leading to the destruction of the entire Spirit Hall. She was unworthy of her teacher, who had always treated her like her own flesh and blood daughter. Teacher, Juliana's face was full of shame, and she wanted to kneel down and repent. Looking at her weeping disciple, Bibi Dong sighed with a complex expression. Well, it's a long story. However, before Bibi Dong could finish her sentence, an extremely cold voice rang out from the side. Juliana. How is it you? Huo Yuhao's mental force instantly swept over Juliana's reanimation body. Then, Huo Yuhao's brow furrowed tightly, his tone full of disappointment. How is she only at the Spirit Saint level? Huo Yuhao sighed helplessly in his heart. He thought that the relics of Spirit Hall could fish up some big game. It turned out to be this Juliana, known as the first-generation traitor Douluo. What the Akatsuki organization lacked most right now was mid to high-tier combat power. Huo Yuhao had originally hoped that this ancient bronze mirror could reincarnate the former angel god Jian Renshui, or perhaps those titled Douluo-level enshrined elders and regular elders of past generations. If that were the case, the combat power of the Akatsuki organization would definitely see a qualitative leap. But of all people, the one reincarnated was just Juliana, who only had a Spirit Saint cultivation of the 70s. This was way too underwhelming. Hearing this blunt evaluation, Juliana's tears stopped instantly. Her face couldn't help but show a bit of confusion and indignation as she turned to look at the blue-haired youth who had suddenly interrupted. Teacher. Juliana pointed at Huo Yuhao and asked Bibi Dong. Who is this little brother? Is he a new disciple you took after your resurrection? Although she was a bit unhappy with Huo Yuhao's tone, as a looks-obsessed fox, Juliana couldn't help but size him up a bit. Cold features, a mysterious aura. He's indeed very handsome, perfectly matching my aesthetic. Hearing Juliana's question about a new disciple, Bibi Dong, who was still feeling somewhat sentimental, instantly fell silent. A hint of oddity flashed across her stunning face, then the corners of her mouth curled up slightly, revealing a look of someone enjoying a good show. Bibi Dong rested her chin on one hand, suppressing her laughter as she answered vaguely. That's pretty much it. Hearing Bibi Dong's ambiguous answer, the Ice Empress, who was holding the box of ultimate bliss nearby, also instantly perked up her ears, her eyes shining. There's entertainment. The Ice Empress immediately found a comfortable stone pillar to sit on, assuming the standard posture of someone in the front row watching the drama unfold. And hearing Bibi Dong's confirmation, Juliana's mind immediately began to wander. So that's how it is. Could it be that after I died back then, teacher not only successfully resurrected by relying on her divinity's foundation but also took on a gifted personal disciple? Thinking of this, the way Juliana looked at Huo Yuhao instantly took on the sense of superiority of a senior sister inspecting a junior brother. Just then, Huo Yuhao's cold voice came again, interrupting her thoughts. Juliana. Huo Yuhao looked at her and calmly gave an order. Let me test your strength. If her strength is acceptable, I could let her become an executive in my Akatsuki organization. She is a spirit saint after all. If her illusion techniques are decent, she can barely manage some odd jobs on the periphery. However, Huo Yuhao's condescending tone instantly enraged Juliana. Juliana's face darkened, showing obvious displeasure. What an attitude. In her past life, she was the holy maiden of Spirit Hall. She was the only personal disciple of Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong. After the establishment of the Spirit Empire, she was the rightful crown princess of the Spirit Empire, with a status that could be said to be below only one person and above 10,000. This, junior brother, in front of her actually dared to speak to his senior sister like this. It seems teacher usually spoils him too much. Junior brother, your tone is a bit too arrogant. Juliana faced Huo Yuhao, her eyes flashing with a pride and sharpness that belonged to the holy maiden of Spirit Hall. Since you want to challenge your senior sister, then bring it on. I must properly educate you on behalf of teacher about what it means to respect your elders. Boom. As her voice fell, Juliana completed her martial soul possession without hesitation. Martial soul possession, charming fox. Accompanied by a seductive fox cry, a fluffy fox tail grew from behind her, and her entire being radiated an extreme sense of charm and danger. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, black, black. 7 perfectly ratioed spirit rings suddenly rose from behind her. A powerful pressure belonging to a peak spirit saint instantly rippled out in all directions with her as the center. Watch closely, junior brother. Juliana raised her snow-white chin and proudly declared. I was part of Spirit Hall's golden generation back then. And the undisputed #1 genius among Spirit Hall's younger generation. Looking at Juliana's self-satisfied appearance, calling herself the #1 genius. Huo Yuhao stood in place, the corner of his mouth twitching wildly. He really didn't know where to start complaining. This woman hasn't realized that the version of the Douluo Continent has long since been updated. In this Douluo II era, 10,000 years later. Without an ultimate attribute, without twin spirits, or even without a few 100,000-year spirit rings or powerful spirit bones. How do you have the face to call yourself a peerless genius? A simple 7-ring spirit saint like you is just a regular gatekeeper. But since she wants to see it, then he would show her what true crushing power looked like. Hey. Huo Yuhao gave a cold laugh. Buzz. His deep eyes instantly underwent a transformation, turning into the Crimson Mangekyo Sharingan. Immediately following that, under Juliana's contemptuous gaze. Boom. 4 rings radiating endless bloody light and carrying a pressure that made the soul tremble slowly rose from beneath Huo Yuhao's feet. Red, 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 red. What? Juliana, who was full of confidence just a moment ago, had her pupils contract violently to the size of pinpricks. 400,000-year spirit rings. How is this possible? Juliana's brain let out a roar, and her heart was greatly shaken. She stared fixedly at those 4 piercing red rings, feeling like her worldview had been completely overturned. No wonder teacher would take him as a disciple. This level of talent, this heaven-defying spirit ring configuration. It has probably far surpassed Tang San back then. Juliana vaguely remembered that before starting the Sea God's trials, Tang San also had a normal spirit ring configuration. But this youth in front of her, his first 4 spirit rings were all 100,000-year ones. For her, whose thinking was stuck 10,000 years in the past, this was simply too shocking. However, as a former death god who had ventured through Slaughter City, Juliana's combat instincts were very high. After the brief shock, she immediately forced herself to steady her mind. No, I can't be scared by his spirit rings. Juliana quickly analyzed in her heart. No matter how strong the spirit rings are, he only has 4. His total spirit power is at most that of a spirit ancestor. And I am a 7-ring spirit saint. In the face of absolute spirit power suppression, what do 4 spirit rings matter? Having figured this out, fighting spirit reignited in Juliana's eyes, and she gave a sharp shout. But, junior brother, you're still too green. A mere 4 spirit rings, why seek your own destruction? The first 5 spirit rings behind Juliana all burst with brilliant light at this moment. Take this. Charming Fox profound truth, charm. Buzz. A stream of pink, illusory light instantly flowed out from Juliana's seductive eyes, heading straight for Huo Yuhao's eyes. In Juliana's view, Huo Yuhao's cultivation was only at the spirit ancestor level. Even if his mental force was exceptionally gifted, it would at most be at the spirit king level. And she was a peak spirit saint who specialized in mental control. Her mental force was already comparable to a spirit Douluo expert. With this ultimate charm, which combined her first 5 spirit abilities, the mental force suppression across 2 major realms would definitely instantly take down this arrogant junior brother. However, looking at the incoming pink mental shock, Huo Yuhao, standing in place, did not even dodge. The 3 sickles and hexagram patterns in his Mangekyo Sharingan instead began to rotate frantically. The corner of Huo Yuhao's mouth curled into an extremely mocking sneer. Playing with illusions in front of the Mangekyo. That's like trying to teach Itachi how to use illusions. Chapter 225, Yasukani no Magatama, Qian Runshui's whereabouts. Just as Juliana's lips curled up, thinking victory was within her grasp. The next second, the smile on her face completely froze. What? It's useless. Juliana discovered in horror that her proud profound truth of charm, after entering Huo Yuhao's sea of consciousness, was like a clay ox entering the sea, failing to stir even the slightest ripple. How is this possible? An extremely absurd thought immediately surfaced in Juliana's heart. No way. Could it be that this, junior brother, of hers, who only has a 4-ring cultivation? His mental force cultivation is actually above hers, a peak spirit saint specializing in mental control. How on earth did he do it? Juliana's mind went blank. Of course, she didn't know that Huo Yuhao's own mental force had long since reached the level of a high-rank spirit Douluo. Moreover, within his vast sea of consciousness, even if the ghetto statue didn't act, the 9-faced beast was always on standby to protect it. A mere spirit saint level Juliana could never hope to harm even a hair on Huo Yuhao's head with a mental attack. In fact, if Huo Yuhao hadn't deliberately suppressed the mental backlash just now, that terrifying rebound force would have instantly severely damaged Juliana's already fragile soul. Just as Juliana fell into extreme self-doubt, Huo Yuhao's merciless and extremely mocking words followed. Is this the number 1 genius of the spirit hall from 10,000 years ago? Huo Yuhao lowered his hands, his eyes reflecting a disdainful coldness. Truly disappointing to the extreme. Hearing this insulting remark, Juliana's original shock instantly turned into fury. As the holy maiden of the spirit empire, when had she ever been treated with such contempt? What? Don't underestimate me. Juliana's eyes turned crimson as she shouted sharply. Slaughter God domain, open. Boom. A cold, crimson domain filled with a violent and murderous aura quickly spread out with Juliana as the center, instantly enveloping Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao immediately felt that under the influence of this law of slaughter, his combat power was forcibly weakened by 10%, while Juliana's aura increased by 10% in reverse. Since mental attacks are useless against you, then. The 7th black spirit ring behind Juliana suddenly flared up. 7th spirit ability, Charming Fox True Form. 6th spirit ability, Fox Fire. Buzz. Juliana was surrounded by a dazzling golden light, and in the blink of an eye, she transformed into a massive golden charming fox. Accompanied by the fox's roar, countless clusters of scorching golden flames instantly gathered and swirled around her. Then, these golden fox fires shot towards Huo Yuhao like a dense meteor shower. Rumble. The dense fox fire slammed into the spot where Huo Yuhao stood, causing a series of violent explosions and kicking up a thick cloud of dust. Juliana, in her charming fox form, panted heavily as she looked at the area swallowed by smoke, grinning. How was that move? Junior brother, now you know how powerful your senior sister is. However, a breeze blew, and the smoke gradually dissipated. The smile on Juliana's face instantly died. In the center of the dust, Huo Yuhao still had one hand in his pocket, standing there completely unharmed. Around him, at some point, an indigo energy skeleton emitting an extremely cold aura had appeared. 3rd spirit ability, Susano, stage 1, torso. What? Juliana's fox eyes widened. My fox fire was actually all blocked. The defensive power of this Susano skeleton around Huo Yuhao was already comparable to the full strength defense of a peak defense type spirit saint. Having taken Juliana's hit directly, Huo Yuhao was naturally unscathed. Whether an illusion or reality, you have already lost. Yasukani no Magatama. With a thought from Huo Yuhao. Buzz. Outside the Susano skeleton, a giant indigo energy hand suddenly extended. Within that giant hand, several blue tomo flashing with extremely violent energy quickly appeared and condensed. This was the brand new ocular technique awakened by the resonance of his eyes after Huo Yuhao fused with that mysterious red tomo. The plasticity of this Yasukani no Magatama was extremely strong. Once Huo Yuhao's proficiency increased in the future, he could even integrate various other ninjutsu of different attributes into it to create a qualitative change. Boom. The indigo giant hand thrust forward, throwing them with force. Several blue tomo shot towards Juliana like lightning tearing through space. So fast. Juliana was horrified and instinctively tried to leap aside to dodge. But this Yasukani no Magatama was not only extremely fast but also possessed an incredibly strong mental lock-on tracking effect, making it extremely difficult to avoid. Oh no, I can't dodge it. Seeing the blue tomo rapidly enlarging in her vision, a sense of despair rose in Juliana's heart. Boom. The blue tomo accurately struck Juliana's massive charming fox body, instantly erupting into a terrifying wave of explosive light. In the final second before being swallowed by the light wave, Juliana's heart was filled with extreme shock and confusion. The power of this move was actually comparable to a full-strength strike from a high-rank spirit saint. How is this possible? He is just a spirit ancestor, how could he unleash an attack at the level of a high-rank spirit saint? This, junior brother, she had never met before was simply too much of a prodigy. I've only just been resurrected. Am I going to die again? Along with this desperate thought, Juliana's charming fox true form was instantly torn apart, and her Edo Tensei body was also completely shattered into dust in the terrifying explosion. However, a moment later, those scattered white paper-like fragments actually began to rapidly regroup and fuse, as if time were flowing backward. In the blink of an eye, Juliana's graceful figure appeared on the spot once again, completely unharmed. Juliana touched her cheeks and body, her heart filled with doubt and her face with disbelief. I actually recovered. Without a single injury. Just as she was completely bewildered. Guo Yuhao dispelled the Susanoo, put his hands in his pockets, and explained calmly. This is my impure world reincarnation technique. Those resurrected by this technique will obtain an immortal body and endless energy. What? It can resurrect the dead, and even grant an immortal body. Hearing these words, Huliena's heart was greatly shaken, and her worldview suffered an unprecedented impact. She quickly turned her head and looked at Bibi Dong, who was sitting on a stone pillar watching the battle, and asked urgently. Teacher, where did you find such a peerless disciple? He actually possesses such heaven-defying means. Hearing Huliena's question, which was full of admiration and curiosity, the normally noble and elegant Bibi Dong now had a look of awkward difficulty on her face. Her eyes flickered away, not even daring to look Huliena in the eye. Nana, you've misunderstood. Bibi Dong lightly bit her red lip, her voice as thin as a mosquito's buzz as she struggled to explain. Yuhao, he is not my disciple. He is my. Bibi Dong took a deep breath, suppressing the shame in her heart, and spat out the last word. Master. Although in her heart, she had already genuinely acknowledged Luo Yuhao's potential in leadership. But to personally call a young boy, master, in front of her once most beloved and proud personal disciple. For this once high and mighty, arrogant supreme pontiff of the spirit hall, it was still too shameful. It was practically social death. Master. Huliena was as if struck by lightning, standing there like a wooden chicken. Is the world crazy? The dignified empress of the spirit empire and a first-class divinity, the Rakshasa god, actually serves a young boy as her master. At this time, Guo Yuhao slowly walked forward and added in a calm tone. In a sense. Whether it's her or you, both were awakened by me. After hearing Guo Yuhao's words, Huliena's face instantly flushed crimson, all the way to the tips of her ears. So, you are the savior of both me and my teacher. Huliena was so ashamed she wished she could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. After all that, this boy she had been calling junior brother, and even bombarded with her ultimate move, was actually the benefactor who had resurrected her and her teacher. This silly fox only now realized that she had been hissing at her savior just now. How utterly embarrassing. Seeing Huliena's awkward look, as if she wanted to dig out a spirit hall with her toes on the spot, Bibi Dong gave a light cough and quickly spoke up, trying to shift the awkward atmosphere. All right, Nana. Bibi Dong floated down from the stone pillar and walked to Huliena, her expression becoming exceptionally grave as she asked in a heavy voice. First, can you tell your teacher? Why were you at the spirit saint level when you were awakened via Edo Tensai? A sharp murderous intent flashed in Bibi Dong's eyes. After I died, did that fellow Tang San break his promise to me and kill you in Shuei? And why were you sealed in that strange bronze mirror? Bibi Dong asked with increasing urgency. Where is Shuei? Where is my Shuei now? Hearing this series of questions from Bibi Dong, the blush on Huliena's face instantly faded, replaced by a look of deep sorrow and bitterness. Her eyes reddened, and her voice choked up. No, teacher. Huliena shook her head and then slowly explained. Tang San did not kill us. Sister Tian Run Shui and I took our own lives to return to the heavens. Chapter 226, The Whereabouts of the Angelic Sacred Sword and the Angelic God Raymond. What? You and Shui actually committed suicide. After a brief moment of shock, the